Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on this Monday afternoon. Landon Schmidt producing for us. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get into after a busy weekend. We had the second semifinal game happen Friday night, which feels like a long time ago now. But Ohio State wins another one. They beat Texas. They advance to the national championship game. Memphis basketball, they got a win over the weekend, Saturday afternoon over East Carolina. A lot of good games in college basketball. The Grizzlies back in action tonight against the Houston Rockets. We'll have to talk about that. We have wild card weekend in the NFL, so a very busy weekend in the sports world. We'll talk about a little bit of everything today. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing well, and tonight we'll end 5 straight days, of playoff football. Thursday night in college football, as you said, feels like a long time ago when Ohio State eliminated Texas, and then Saturday, yesterday, and tonight. And it's been pretty status quo, all the games. All the favorites, most all the favorites, have fared pretty well.
Yeah, it's been, especially in the NFL, Saturday and yesterday, there wasn't anything crazy. I mean, I think the best game was what we said would be the best game last night, that Washington-Tampa Bay game. But, you had some surprises. I mean, Saturday, I think a lot of people thought the Chargers would, beat the Texans, and it was the complete opposite. I mean, the Chargers did not look like themselves, and that Texans defense played really, really well. So, yes, a very fun weekend, and it gets finished up tonight in a game. We talked about it on Friday, but a game that has been moved to Arizona because of those wildfires in the Los Angeles area. Vikings and Rams going to be played tonight in Arizona. So a little bit of a neutral site feel, but I know they've been talking about it all day on ESPN, how the Rams have bused, they've flown, they're trying to get as many fans in attendance for this game to give some sort of home field advantage, home field feel to tonight's game. But, very tough, obviously, with everything those people are going through right now.
Yeah, it's real hard to ask somebody to get on a bus and ride to Phoenix when you're leaving, back that destruction back at home, whether it's yours or a neighbor's or across town or whatever it is. So, you can understand the circumstances. Rich with irony, the site tonight in Phoenix, that Bryant, a long time ago, and when we thought we were in the middle of a NFL pursuit here in Memphis,
right?
You're talking about a lifetime ago. Phoenix, that area, that was kind of the original Los Angeles. After the Rams left for St. Louis, the league used Los Angeles so well for every town to get a new stadium, or we'll move to Los Angeles. And all those votes just rolled in after that. Well, the owner of the Vikings way back then, I think his name was Max Winter. Anyway, he would always use Phoenix as kind of an in-season workout place. They would go there like they had a West Coast playoff game. They'd get out of those at Twin Cities wintertime. Yeah. They would go there and practice, and he would use Phoenix when he needed to. Phoenix was the original place to use. We're going to move to Phoenix if we don't get our stadium right. And then, of course, the football Cardinals did move to Phoenix, and then St. Louis got the Rams, and then they moved back to Los Angeles. Wow. So ironic tonight that's kind of the staging place, and the NFL, they'll have the stadium. And I've seen the field today. I mean, you really wouldn't know tonight that it's not at home in Los Angeles.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't seen much of it. I can see right now on ESPN, NFL Live is on it. I can kind of see in the background a little bit of the field, and they have it all painted up for the Rams. So a nice touch for the NFL.
Do you think anywhere out there in all the preseason props, bets world that there was just this simple prop that stadium, I think it's State Farm Stadium, in Glendale, home of the Cardinals, will it host a postseason game? How lucky would you be?
That would be insane.
You just hope somebody in the middle of the night was walking by that big board in Vegas or somewhere and said, I got $100 I can put on that.
That's funny. That's almost like a couple weeks ago. when you were off and Darian was helping us out in the afternoon, he said that he had placed a bet for what was it? It was a bet for Travis Hunter, and I couldn't remember exactly what he had bet, either for him to go first overall or him to go to the Titans. And I was like, is it for him to go to the Titans? Because if it's him to go to the Titans, I feel a lot better about that than him to just be number one pick overall. But that's kind of like that, is you just bet it up. Oh yeah, maybe the Cardinals get in the playoffs and host a game, and then something like this
just
happens.
a game hosted.
Yeah,
there.
Exactly. I mean, that would
how lucky would that be?
They'd be very lucky. I doubt that was a bet, but who knows? I mean, there are bets for everything out there, so I wouldn't be surprised.
And again, we're very, very sorry for the misfortune of residents of Los Angeles. It's still we can bear to look at and see that destruction. The loss of lives is remarkably low. They did heed get out. Of course, they out there they deal with. I don't know if you get an advance warning on an earthquake, but on floods and mudslides and fire, they at least that was heated, and nobody tried to stay along because you couldn't have survived it.
No, I mean, still, even through the weekend and even today, seeing some of those pictures and videos out there, I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's hard to watch.
Have you seen the stories of some very, 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 very wealthy people? We're talking $20 and $30 and $40 million homes that on the fly they hired their own fire department, and they're being criticized for it.
Really? I've not seen that.
I see no criticism whatsoever. It should be offered if you can do it. I mean, that's like criticizing somebody, and we didn't last week. We had very few power outages, but you ride the ice storm out here because you were smart enough to get a generator.
Sure, yeah. No, I mean, that's, wow, I hadn't heard of that. But I mean, hey, if you got the money to do it and those are things that are offered, I mean, you take them up on it.
We did have ice storm one time in my neighborhood, and I don't know why, but I have historically been so lucky that the 3 or 4 big ones that cripple everything for a few days, and there's been a lot of reasons offered up. I live very close to the old hospital that is now a nursing home, nursing facility, and a lot of people think you're on that grid and that one always stays on. Well, one time I had full lights and everything. And I had a few. It was around Christmas time, and I had a few outdoor decorations, and I had those on. My neighbor 2 up from me had nothing for like 2 weeks.
Oh no!
And she finally said, Brett, could you at least turn the Christmas lights off? That's kind of spiking the ball on the rest of us that you have lights and we don't. You know what? You're right.
Just in the Christmas spirit.
Not a good look.
No.
But it wasn't me paying for my own fire department.
Right. Yes. No. That's completely different. But I mean, hey, if those are out there,
just terrible to see the destruction and have anybody with any sense knows exactly what I'm getting ready to say. This is not getting repaired. Never mind overnight, but 6 months, a year, years.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many construction people that once it's declared a loss and once EPA and whatever, and they can turn off the gas, whatever it takes. Okay, you can start building. I mean that's going to be forever.
Oh, yeah.
To get a bulldozer in.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long,
unreal
process. Yeah, and it's very
sad. I referred to it last week. I see no way that annual PGA Tour event at Fame Riviera, that goes off.
No. It feels like it just can't. I mean, with everything going on and just all of the destruction around. I mean, you were telling us last week about kind of where that fire was in proximity to that golf course. I don't think there's a way that could be played. This year, maybe not even next year.
You drive by those homes and you just think, golly, they live in the Garden of Eden. Yeah. They live in the perfect place on earth, and then this, catastrophe it hits. Speaking of much smaller, much less. Browns, you Cowboys.
Brett.
Here we go again.
I didn't know when I was going to address this.
3:10. It took me to.
It was. I had it as my not top story of the day. If I had to wait till then, that was completely fine by me. I'm to the point.
Would you like to wait, Brian?
No. Okay. We're already here. I want to send my apologies to that entire coaching staff, because at the end of the day, we can blame them all we want. Not his fault. Not his fault. This starts at the top. This is Jerry Jones.
So true. You're so right.
And
I picked the Cowboys to win the East this year. I can't chuckle at them.
No, and they have good players. They have very talented players.
I can chuckle at my horrible picks.
Well, that's something. But until leadership changes, I don't expect much from this team.
In fact, I'm looking at my picks, and I had Dallas 1 in the NFC East and Minnesota 4th in the NFC North. That's how much I can chuckle at them.
Yeah, no, it changes. Can change just like that. But yeah, Mike McCarthy done. It sounds like it was more of they just couldn't get a new deal put together, and so new era in Dallas.
Mike McCarthy's hired somewhere by the end of this week, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, with what Chicago did last week of trying to get an interview with them and requesting that, it feels like at least interest there. And it feels like Chicago's throwing darts everywhere, but, maybe interest there. I'm sure somewhere else interest.
He would instantly be the third best Bears coach in the Bears history. Papa Bear and Mike Ditka 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, I forgot who joined. I think it was Mike Keith. Either last week or the week before, joining Dave in the morning. And Mike McCarthy was brought up about, because I think that was right when Chicago had kind of reached out and asked about him. And Mike Keith, who, he knows the NFL very well with his time with the Titans. And, he said, if I'm any team out there, I'm going and calling Mike McCarthy because he is a very good coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. And look, it just didn't work out in Dallas. And, so yeah, I think he's going to be on a lot of coaching boards.
I can promise you this, Bryant. After opening weekend next year, and Tennessee plays opening weekend against whom? I'm having to look.
Oh, man.
They open against Syracuse.
Oh, wow.
Big Orange against the Orange. How about that in Atlanta?
Fun.
That Monday, working into crunch time loop somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Keith, it's football time in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's going to be fun. They posted a bunch of promo stuff on social media right when he got
real
the job.
Good stuff.
And just watching that stuff was very cool. So, yeah,
and how that camera pulled in tight on him in the John Ward press box, and that really good.
Very cool.
So happy for him.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Very, very cool to see. Brett, before we kind of get to top and not top story of the day, let's go back to Friday night, that second semifinal game, Ohio State 28, Texas 14, a very back-and-forth game for most of the night, and then Ohio State's defense came up big, had a scoop and score, and that was that really put the game away.
Texas, I think, could have some consolation. I don't know how much it's worth, but worth a little of 2 plays.
Yeah.
The kind of the screen pass, hit and hope right before halftime, 75 yards, 1 play, and then the scoop and score.
Yeah.
You take those 2 out, and I think I know how it ends, but maybe Texas gets the break and they pull out the game. Bryant, from the Ole Miss spring game last year on, and the general manager at Ole Miss football now, Billy Glasscock, he told me at the spring game, he had just been hired from Texas. He said, guarantee you one of the 4 teams in the college football playoff Final Four will be Texas. That roster is that good. So everybody expected that. They got there. Was that enough?
Well, that's a good question, because the way they, we always talk about how they do it, and the way they did it wasn't easy. It wasn't. It wasn't the prettiest. I mean, it was.
Wasn't that? It was good, but wasn't
good.
That sharp.
It wasn't what you would really expect.
It highlighted my theory on the year of the SEC.
Yep.
It was good. It wasn't finished. Texas was good. Texas has had better teams than this one.
Oh yeah. I would definitely agree with that. But, they were able to do what they needed to do. They get to the Final Four and, had a chance there against Ohio State. And now we've got the national championship matchup. Notre Dame and Ohio State. It's 2 really good brands in the national championship game.
Yes, sir. Bring it on. I'm looking forward to next week and And I think Notre Dame has much more than a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
I think they can match the speed. I know they can match the physicality. I have no idea how turnovers are going to go, and nobody else does either.
No.
It's the worst pregame analysis ever is what the turnover battle is going to look like. Yeah. Man, if I knew that.
Oh, man.
I'm not sitting in the Grove doing pregame.
That's right.
I'm out there with that guy betting on a playoff game in Phoenix.
I've got you on speed dial asking you for plays every single week. But no, it should be a fun matchup. And
I know this. Very few teams can turn the ball over and win.
Yes. And so that will be big in that national championship game. But it should be a lot of fun. And now you hear, maybe the Bears interested in Marcus Freeman. So, he is on his way to superstardom. Yeah,
man.
He's been really fun to watch. But we'll talk a lot more about what's going on in college football throughout the show. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, we're going to talk a ton about the Tigers. Main reason why we haven't gotten to it in this opening segment, because we're going to spend the whole next segment talking about the Memphis Tigers and their win Saturday afternoon over East Carolina. They've moved up a spot in the AP Top 25 polls. We'll talk a lot about what they did against East Carolina in a game later this week, Thursday, against Temple. 3:45, we'll talk about the NFL playoffs, what happened over the weekend. We still got one game tonight, Vikings and Rams, later tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll talk about what we saw over the weekend in the NFL playoffs. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports. He'll join us. We'll get his thoughts on the two semifinal games in college football, what he expects to see next week in the national championship game. But we'll also get to a lot of college basketball. We'll talk about the Tigers and what they've been doing. The SEC, Cooper Flagg, another massive game for him, 42 points against Notre Dame. So we'll get to a lot of college basketball with David Cobb at 4 o'clock. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC, and it'll really be a look back at this semifinal game, Texas taking on Ohio State in the college football playoffs. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk Grizzlies. They've got a game tonight against the Houston Rockets, so we'll talk a lot about that, what the Grizzlies did over the last week. 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Vikings right now a 2.5-point favorite over the Rams. We'll also get to our Big Four all-time for the Vikings and the Rams. And then at 4:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the floor model sale. All 2024 inventory, it's got to go. Help them make room for 2025. All floor models are up to 50% off. Cold plunge tubs starting at $49.99. Hot tubs up to $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Pool tables, arcades, ping pong tables, air hockey, foosball tables, all 20 to 60% off. And don't forget about the theater seating, now up to 75% off. It's not too early to start thinking about pool season. Buy now and get on the schedule for install before the rush hits. So head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Happy Monday. Happy start to a new week on this Monday, January 13th, 2025. We are Sportstime. It is produced by Landon Schmidt. He's Bryant. I'm Brett. We're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line, and all our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always from our Family Leisure Studios in this hour, brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be wild card weekend in the NFL. It was fun, but it was kind of predictable. I think the better team won in most all of the games. I really thought the Chargers would beat the Texans, but it was in Houston. I know the Chargers were favored, but in Houston made it look easy. 32-12 win over the Chargers. Herbert with a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions. The second game, Ravens all over the Steelers, 28-14 in that one. And now what happens to Mike Tomlin? I had my prediction for 2025 that they might trade him. Brett, I'm just saying, Dallas
that's out
needs a
there.
head coach.
That's a great prediction.
I would love nothing more. I don't think it happens, but I would love nothing more than for the Cowboys to trade for Mike Tomlin. Sunday was a really fun day. Bills all over the Broncos.
Would you trade Dak for him?
Yes.
I would too.
I would trade a lot for Mike Tomlin, but Dak is unfortunately one of them. But I'm also a little biased against Dak. I'm not a huge Dak fan. But Sunday was a lot of fun. I mean, that Bills-Broncos game, the Broncos score on their opening drive and then don't sniff the end zone.
Bo Magic right out of the gate.
I mean, right out of the gate. I saw a video on social media. Somebody had put $3,000 on the Broncos to cover 8.5 and was holding his ticket, jumping up and down for joy when the Broncos scored that first touchdown. And then, very quickly, things changed. Bills looked really good. Josh Allen looked really good in that game. Eagles all over the Packers at home. I think this Eagles team is a scary team to face. I don't think many people want to see this Eagles team. And then the final game last night, the Commanders and the Buccaneers. What a fun game. When we were making our picks on Friday, I took the Commanders and I said, I think this comes down to a field goal. I think one team probably wins by 3 points. So if you're going to give me the 3.5, I'll take the underdog. I don't know if I really thought the Commanders would go out and win that game, but that's what they did. They were able to capitalize on a couple of turnovers and then get that ball, run the clock down, and then knock down a doink chip shot field goal to win it all. A lot of fun over the weekend in the wild card action. It's not done because tonight should be a good one. Vikings and Rams later tonight at 7 o'clock.
Congratulations, Brian. On Friday, you and Darian both tied 2-3 for the weekend. That tops me and Connor, who both went 0-5.
Well, Brett, you know, the playoff football, it's hard to predict. You never know what's going to happen. That's why the lines are set perfectly. I mean, it's tough out here.
0-5. 0-5. Could throw darts and do better than that. My top story. College football playoff national championship game all set on Thursday. From Thursday on, we had Thursday and Friday night. And on Friday night, Ohio State, they beat Texas to get into the other spot for Atlanta 1 week from tonight. Both did just enough to advance over Penn State and Texas. We probably could replay this whole college football playoff and come out with two different teams. It was that kind of year across the sport. But we got two good teams for next week, and I can't wait. Texas was right there, and Steve Sarkisian had the horns close. But in the end, Texas still holding on to, let's count them, one national championship since integration. One national championship since anything resembling color television was invented. One, 1969, 55 years ago, James Street, and then Vince Young in 2006. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it for Texas.
Texas is back, Brett. Don't let you forget.
And the one with Vince Young, time's marching on from it.
Man, tell me
that ain't yesterday.
No.
And James Street sure isn't.
No, certainly not.
Turn that game on and enjoy black and white TV.
Yes, no thank you.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's what your top story was. The national championship game is set a week from today. 6:30 on ESPN, Ohio State and Notre Dame will meet to determine the national championship. Both these teams have been really fun to watch throughout these playoffs. Ohio State, everyone had the questions about who is this team? How good are they after their loss against Michigan? But they've come out and I would say Ryan Day probably lit a fire under them after that Michigan game. I'm sure those practices following that one, getting ready for the playoffs, probably weren't the most fun. I don't think anybody would have that as their senior look back. That was my favorite practice after the Michigan game. No. Those were probably very tough practices.
And the fight. Don't forget the fight.
That's right. Yes, how could you? But they've been great since the playoffs have started. They got the big win against Tennessee, and they've really been rolling since. Beat Oregon, made that look very easy against the undefeated #1 team in the country. And then in their semifinal game against Texas, it was a lot closer. They came out, got the lead early, but then kind of in that second, third quarter, let Texas get right back in it. But a big fourth quarter that a couple of things went their way. The defense had some really good stands, had the scoop and score to really seal the game. Ohio State has been really impressive, but don't forget about Notre Dame and what they've done. Everyone talking about, this Notre Dame team, they lost to Northern Illinois, which, first off, Northern Illinois, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. I mean, that might be a banner worth hanging of we beat Notre Dame, especially if they win the national championship. I guess they could claim a national championship. UCF did it a while back. NIU could do it as well. But Notre Dame, that defense has been really, really strong. They've been able to get the run game going when they've needed it. And so I think this is going to be a really fun matchup. A really good offense meets a really good defense. Should be a lot of fun a week from today.
We did the old flipperooski here today. My not top story. Not many good games on Super Wild Card Weekend. One to go tonight. Pretty chalk so far. Rookie of the Year Jaden Daniels did win on the road. But that was it for drama. College football playoffs. It's lacked drama for a lot of these games. We're not assured in sports of it being a jukebox and we just put the coin in and it spits out the great drama story. The miracle on ice doesn't happen every time we go out to sports. In fact, in everything, life, everything, there's a lot more humdrum than there is super exciting. But that's why you got to enjoy it when you get super exciting, because you got to feel like it's coming somewhere, maybe next Monday night in the college football, maybe tonight in the NFL, or next week at divisional round or conference championship, or another fantastic Super Bowl. We're on a great Super Bowl run.
We are. We absolutely are. But it should be a really fun matchup a week from today. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break. When we come back, we got to talk about the Memphis Tigers, their win over East Carolina Saturday afternoon. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you tried. Stuff. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance. Progressive agents are made of
I think people forget there's a Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
And that's on us.
Well, you.
What does that mean?
Well, you're the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. It's your responsibility to remind people there's a Central Barbecue in South Haven.
It's very convenient that I'm the spokesperson when there's responsibility to be taken.
Just mention the Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
I got a lot to remember. There's the location on Butler downtown. There's a location on Summer, on Poplar.
And Getwell Road in South Haven. How hard is that?
I've heard you call yourself a spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
No, it was just to pick up chicks.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Really not too bad right now on all the major outbound routes. It's trying to pick up in certain sections of the Midtown area. 240 southbound at Union, working your way down past Norris. Looks good at the moment on 240 getting on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway as you continue out towards Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. They want you to know they are your full service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports Time. Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Tires. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Well, the Memphis Tigers, they were in action Saturday afternoon against East Carolina, their third conference matchup of the season. Another win for them at home. It wasn't an easy win, but it was a win. They remained perfect in conference play with a 74-70 win over the Pirates. Brett, what did you notice in this game for the Tigers? Another win for them.
P.J. Haggerty, he's doing everything it takes to be runaway AAC Player of the Year, and I think truly in contention for National Player of the Year. I do.
Yep.
And now, Tiger fans, you're going to be aggravated and frustrated every single Monday around noon when that AP poll comes out. I just would beg you not to be, because and don't be too overly concerned about the net rating. Today, the net rating 36. The AP poll rating today is 18. They're going to be better seated than either one of those if they stay on this pace, and they're going to have to. I said last week, I'm not going to freak over a home conference loss. I wasn't going to had that turned out Saturday, because it had the feeling for a lot of the second half, down the stretch, the last 5 minutes of this is, and Coach Penny Hardaway remarked about it, sleepy, weather impacted arena. We understand that. I understand that. It was so very cold, and for some side street stuff, I understand that. I'm not cracking on anybody that didn't want to get out and fight that Saturday. I am not. I think if Saturday had turned into a loss, I still wasn't going to freak. But that's one of the kind that you could, if you wanted to, over a home loss. There are a home loss or two that's more acceptable than others. I still will put Wichita State in that. I don't know why. Maybe just a brand. I still put UAB in that. I still will put maybe losing at home. I don't know if I can put 2 years in a row at home to Rice in that.
Yeah.
But I can go one or two. I don't know if the one Saturday would have been one that would have been acceptable to many. And when I talk about it, just get used to this on Monday, if the Tigers go 18-0 in AAC play, it's only going to be about a one-tick improvement every week in the AP because of who they're playing. I know you can look in front of and see in front of them, but hey, we beat Michigan State. I know that. We beat UConn. But you also have to understand who they're also playing against now.
Right.
Kind of that's acceptable for the college football prism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then why isn't it for basketball?
That's a good question. I have no idea. But you're right. It's the same but very different to some people. But no, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. When you look at some of the things the Tigers do and have done, it creates a recipe for losses. I mean, the turnovers and what other teams are doing off of those turnovers, that can lead to losses, especially on the road. When you're in a road environment and you start turning the ball over like that. I mean, you look at the second half in this game, 10 turnovers for the Tigers, and East Carolina turned that into 17 points off of turnovers in the second half. That was a big part of them
East Carolina's
coming back.
really bad.
Yeah, no, they're not a great team, and and they gave them some problems. Inside, their big men were having a decent game, and so these are things that the Tigers are going to need to clean up on, or you're right, they're going to take a couple losses.
And the road loss or two, it's coming, and that's acceptable almost anywhere on the road. I think Is I don't know about it. Rice and right again.
Rice, man, it's always
yeah,
there.
I know, and they're second place. I don't even know what Rice's net is.
I have no clue.
Other AAC net today that I did look up: North Texas 58, FAU 104, Temple Thursday night's opponent 121 at Temple. You know, I'm not bracing or trying to cover for the loss, but that's a loss Thursday in Philadelphia. Sure. There's no freak from me.
No, and I mean that feels like it could be one. You know, on the road in Temple. Temple is usually a very solid team, especially at home. I've got the other AAC nets if you would like them. UAB at 142 today, Wichita State at 158, Rice at 165. USF 166, Tulane 176, East Carolina 196, UTSA 253, Charlotte 276, and Tulsa 302.
Wow.
Tulsa.
Tulsa, they take some comfort in. If you bat 302, you're going to the Hall of Fame.
That's true, but net 302. Ugh.
Net doesn't get you much.
No, you're not going anywhere, but man. Ugh.
But the Tigers today, 18th in AP, 42 votes behind Purdue. I never see a week. All right, this week in the Tigers world, they win Thursday night over Temple, and they win next Sunday afternoon in Charlotte. AP next week, it's going to be about one or two slots.
Yeah,
that's all the improvement. Net's going to toggle right around this the rest of the way.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're. It's a good point because, I mean, you look at the teams around them, and I don't know. Look,
you're stuck.
Yeah, I don't know who Purdue's playing this week, but I know they're playing Big Ten opponents, right? I don't know who.
They're playing something better than Temple and Charlotte.
Yes. I don't know who Mississippi State's playing, but I know they're playing in the SEC, So, Gonzaga, even with their kind of name brand, I don't know who they're playing, but if they win by, double digits, they're still probably going to stay ahead of you. So, yeah, it's tough, but, like you said, I don't think you should worry. Look, AP Top 25 rankings, it's fun. It's fun to have that little number beside you, but at the end of the day, Brett, like you always say, doesn't mean much.
Yeah, because Selection Sunday was sorted out, and Selection Sunday is going to be better than both of these rankings, both net and AP, if you continue on this 16-2, 15-3 trajectory. I can't go down to 14-4, and then I don't think 13-5 will ever happen. But if that happened, then the whole in or out could be up for grabs.
Yeah, you'll be right there in that conversation. That feels like we've been a lot of times. Yeah, of kind of the. Is Memphis going to be in or are they going to be out? I'll say this. I have really enjoyed watching Dante Harris, the newest addition, what Penny Hardaway added, what he brings defensively and really as a facilitator off the bench. He only finished with 2 points, only took 2 shot attempts, and I kind of like that. He's very much a facilitator, defensive guy, a pass-first guy, finished with 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals. What a great addition. He is so far he's only played in 3 games. He missed the game before against North Texas with an injury, but I've really enjoyed watching him, what he can bring off the bench, especially as he gets more and more comfortable in this system and with those other guys.
I know Memphis played Mississippi State, and I know that they lost, but when I look at the teams, and you mentioned in front, Purdue at 17, Gonzaga 16, State 15, UConn 14. Well, I know what Memphis did against UConn. Yeah. Also know what they did against State. I wouldn't fear playing any of these teams second weekend, first night of second weekend to get to Elite Eight. But I don't think anybody's expecting to go past that or even to that point. Would be a spectacular year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm still kind of in the same boat I've been in all year. I mean, if you get out of that first game, I think it's a really good year because, I mean, look, Tigers have not really done that in a while. I know they've done it in Penny Hardaway era, but
not
really,
often enough.
No, they
and maybe that would be the new trend.
Sure, and maybe you build off of that. I think getting out of that first weekend would be massive. But I'm still get in, win that first game, and I think it's a very successful season for the Tigers.
Brian, and I would love to hear from our listeners, from Tiger Persuasion listeners at the Sissy's Log Cabin text line. Tell us this in succinct fashion, if you can. 901-360-8255. Why in basketball is a win a win, But when Ryan Silverfield wins in football, it's not enough.
Yeah, it's a good question. You texted me this earlier today, and it's a good question because it's in the football side. You play the same teams you're playing in basketball. It's basically the same conference, football and basketball.
Not as many because of the frequency of the sport. We know that,
but still, kind of the talent, the perception of the league is.
It's
kind
no
of
more
the same.
exotic playing Rice in football than it is in basketball.
Certainly not. And you win.
I'd be less. Boy, isn't that something?
Yeah, you beat Rice in football, and it's Rice. They beat Rice.
Yawner.
That's not good. Exactly, not good enough. But you're right. In basketball, it's there's more excitement there. I don't know.
Why is a win is a win in the basketball world, and they kind of get the favoritism over Ryan Silverfield and what he has accomplished, what he has racked up over these years.
It's a good question. I don't have the answer for it, so hopefully somebody can hit us up 901-360-8255.
Is it mostly because or just because Penny is a Tiger?
Could be.
And so many, they want him to do well, but a lot of people want Ryan Silverfield to do well too.
Sure, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a good question because you're right. I do think there's something there.
Is it fair?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
But I would love to hear from some of the listeners.
You only have 12 weeks out of the college football regular season to have that big searing indictment, game by game referendum. And I think the fun should be in the winning in both.
Sure. And I wonder if maybe that's part of it you only have so few games in football, and so you want to see them go out there and dominate and then
style points.
Yeah, style points. And then in basketball, it's such a long season that, hey, you just won that game by a couple points. Good. Let's, move on to the next one and try to
Brian, I heard forever around here, no matter what the record would be, give us an exciting brand of ball that people would gravitate to and embrace, kind of wild football. Well, how about giving you wild football and winning?
Yeah.
And then no crowds.
Yeah.
And I understand weather for Saturday, but no crowds in basketball either.
No. It's a good question. I really don't have an answer for it, but I do think there is something to it. And now Tigers fall in that game against East Carolina. You mentioned it earlier, Brett. Thursday night against Temple, and we'll see what kind of game that is. I'll be curious where that kind of line opens at for that game on the road.
What's the home game the rest of the year that would legitimately, when the whole world gets scan count come springtime, with the freedom of information and public records access that the commercial appeal always does, everybody can be getting it now if you wanted it, and it could be released now if they wanted to. But what draws 8,500, legit 8,500, the rest of the way at home? Wichita State, do they get it?
I would say just looking at it, I would say Wichita State is probably the one.
Maybe UAB.
Maybe
on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, both those games. I wish one of those games was on a Saturday. Thursday night against Wichita State. Sunday.
I wish
UAB.
we had games on Saturday night. Remember when I remarked about the schedule? That the Tiger home games. After that's about the best shots.
Yeah, because let's see. After that, Tulsa at home, no. Temple at home, I don't think so. FAU at home, no. Rice at home, no. South Florida at home, no. I mean, I think those two are the ones, Wichita State and UAB, to get a big one. And I mean, I don't know what the perception is now with UAB, with kind of the way they've played this year, but I think both those games are probably tough games at home.
I think UAB's getting better, don't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, over the weekend, a good win on the road at FAU. I mean, I think they're starting to play better, and I've thought some of their losses this year have been against pretty good mid-major opponents, but feels like they're starting to kind of maybe figure things out, but still a very winnable game for the Tigers, but could be tough at home. Let's go ahead and get to another break. When we come back, we both talked about it during Top and Not Top Story, but the NFL Wild Card Weekend took place Saturday and Sunday. We'll wrap up with a game tonight in Arizona between the Vikings and the Rams. So when we come back from this break, we'll talk about what we saw over the weekend in the wild card. That's next on Sports Time.
and more. Guarantee lowest prices in town. Only Benny Brewer in the Mid-South. Free demonstrations. Appraisals and free beer sighting for the upcoming beer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsInMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Countertop Parkway behind Crocky's Barbecue in Cordova.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up. I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Family Leisure has other selling up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together. Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Looks pretty good right now as we check it out live here on Sam Cooper, passing Perkins up by Highland, going outbound on Sam Cooper. Won't be long before it gets a little bit busier over here on 40 eastbound from Hollywood, making your way over towards White Station, headed south of Memphis. Pretty good shape right now. Let's keep up the good work there on 55 southbound down through South Haven. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Go by and see them. You'll save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Well, the wild card was a lot of fun. We talked about it a lot to start the show, but really nothing crazy happening in the wild card. It was pretty predictable. I think that first game that started everything off between the Chargers and the Texans. A little surprising. I think a lot of people had the Chargers winning that game, even though it was a road game. And then I would say the final game, Sunday night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Commanders, that one was the best game. That was a lot of fun. Good on NBC and the NFL to make that the Sunday night football game. But I felt some really good stuff from really all of these games.
I was thinking 3 upsets over the weekend. Really, it was only one. It was a slight one. And my lookout for teams, Buccaneers and Packers, both heading home. 4 Justin Herbert interceptions. Only had 3 for the year. Entered the game, 23 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions for the year. Had 4. And I'm not much on this, but DeMeco Ryans, he got the best of Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've been talking about it. I mean, DeMeco Ryans is a really
Superstar.
Impressive coach and really young in his coaching career, but has done a lot of really nice things. He's got that young quarterback, that had a great year last year, has had a fine year this year.
And Will Anderson on defense.
And Will Anderson. I mean, that defense as a whole was really, really good in that game against the Chargers. But you're right, having a young star on the defensive side of the ball, a young star on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that is a recipe, and a good young coach, that is a recipe for success for a long time. It feels like Houston might be on that trajectory.
And what if C.J. Stroud, tapped back into more last year's C.J. Stroud? He did for a little while Saturday, mostly in the second half, and he had the playoff run this year that Jordan Love had last year. And I was just in love with Love. Not anymore.
We love Love, Brett.
We did last year.
Not so much anymore. But no, I mean, C.J. Stroud could definitely have that kind of run. But yeah, Jordan Love just did not have it. We know was dealing with that injury.
We got some love in for C.J. Hurts.
We do,
yeah.
I didn't even mean
to.
We
constantly have that, don't we?
Barely, yeah. But no, I mean, Jordan Love, he's been dealing with that injury. He was good to go in the game, but he did not look anywhere close to 100%. And it showed, 3 interceptions.
The window was open, too, for the Packers.
Yeah, no, it was. It definitely was. And, I think Philadelphia, they jumped out real early, up 10-0 in the first quarter, and then, kind of slowed things down. And, Green Bay had some drives where it felt like, okay, finish this drive and you're right back into it, and really just couldn't. On the other side, I thought Jalen Hurts. I almost called him C.J. Hurts again. What is going on with me?
It's okay. I did it one time. I was talking about Dave Van Horn at Arkansas and kept calling him our friend in Memphis media, Tim Van Horn, the whole conversation. It happens. Don't worry about it.
Jalen Hurts, I thought played well. Another guy, coming back from injury with that concussion. But man, we talked about earlier some of the bad bets of the weekend.
It's when you like people like C.J. Hurts and Tim Van Horn. You have them on your mind.
You got them on your mind. That's what's going on here.
If Tim Van Horn, if you're listening, thank you for the beautiful holiday card too.
Oh, I love a good holiday card, Brad. They're always those are always nice, but
especially from old good friends.
Oh yeah. Did you see though what Saquon Barkley did at the end of the game? And
I did.
The bettors were not happy.
Did it take you out any?
Oh no.
Good.
I very rarely bet touchdown scorer props. I know a lot of people that do it every single week. I very rarely bet on touchdown scorers.
Now that's low stakes, isn't it? I hope you're for people.
Oh yeah, no, that's
just got to be for funsies.
Oh yeah, that's just kind of throw a couple dollars, see what happens. Nothing crazy, but I would not be surprised if there's some big money on Saquon to score a touchdown.
We get our quarterback matchup coming up though when we get Ravens and Buffalo.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be fun. It's been the conversation all year. Those 2 quarterbacks have been the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and so it'll be fun to watch that matchup and really see who gets the better of the other
and who advances a little of the criticism and the pressure off about the whole postseason thing.
But then the other one
for the defeated one, it's going to ramp up. Look, both of them, we know what they can do regular season, and they have been properly lauded for it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't make the rules, I just play by them.
Yeah, that's right.
You can talk about great NFL quarterbacks that couldn't do much in the postseason or ultimately win one, and it always sticks with them.
Yep.
You know, the other side of that's Eli Manning and his not Heisman Trophy, his Hall of Fame candidacy. But then on the other side of that is Fran Tarkenton, great player.
Yep.
Couldn't win a Super Bowl.
Yep. No, you are absolutely right. So that's going to be a great matchup. There's going to be a ton of storylines, a ton of build-up to that game, so that will be excited.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on and
in
on.
Buffalo, Jimmy Kelly.
Yeah, that's right. Last thing I wanted to get to on the weekend, we've talked a lot about Commanders and Buccaneers, and we'll talk more about tonight's game at 5:30 when we do our Monday Night Football pick and preview. But last night in that Sunday Night Football game, Commanders and Buccaneers, a really, really fun game that went down all the way to the final seconds, and we had a doink field goal that was the game winner. We have the sound from the Commanders radio call of that game and of that winning field goal. Landon, go ahead and play that.
Gonzalez looking to send Washington into the divisional round. Snap good, hold down, kick on its way. It is good! The Cardiac Commanders are the Clutch Commanders. They do it again. We'll see you in Detroit.
And Jay Gonzalez kicks in the door and kicks us into the second round of the playoffs.
I don't. That was beautiful. I mean,
the hometown call
from the Cardiac Commanders to the Clutch Commanders, and then the color commentator. I don't even know. I mean, half the time I don't know what he was saying.
It doesn't matter.
He was just excited. It was great.
Thrill of victory and the nat sound of the doink, which was more than a doink. There were two really loud goalpost hits this weekend.
There were, and that one was huge. I mean.
And I can tell you, every hometown announcer, you look, the national guys and gals, they got to be more down the middle. We go crazy. We go crazy for a reason. And I tell people at the end of every year, the same hard work goes into 2-10 that goes into 11-2.
It absolutely does. And so, for that team,
you better enjoy it.
Yes, and for what the Commanders have done this year, I mean, have been very lucky a couple of times. It goes all the way back to that win over the Chicago Bears, the Hail Mary, and they win that game. And two teams that after that game went in completely different directions the rest of the season.
The separate pass both took.
I mean, that was the one. And so Commanders been really fun, a big story for them to get that win last night over the Buccaneers. Well, we need to get to a break and wrap up our first hour. I know did not talk about Vikings-Rams because we'll do that 5:30 during our Monday Night Football pick and preview. But let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we're talking some college football and college basketball with our friend David Cobb.
Through the end of January, Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even football tables from 20 to 60% off. Well, here's it. Leisure has theaters sitting up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool season. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model show. Now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together. At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I Pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's getting busier by the minute through the Midtown area. Right on schedule, actually, on 240 South here at Union, past South Parkway. It's cranking up also at times 240 getting onto 385, which actually looks pretty good right now, going outbound Bill Morris as you continue out towards the Collierville area. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis Shelby County. Check out the animals that are available for adoption at memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. David, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to, but let's start with some college hoops, and let's start with the Memphis Tigers. Another win for them in conference play. They improved to 3-0 in conference play with a 74-70 win over East Carolina, but it wasn't the easiest game. Tigers led big at half. They let East Carolina come back and really make it a game late. One of the big concerns that a lot of people here locally have been talking about has been how turnover-prone this group has been this year. Even in the wins, a lot of turnovers. What have you seen in terms of kind of those mistakes that this Tiger team has made this year?
Yeah, they're a little sloppy with the ball, no doubt. P.J. Haggerty, for all that he does well, he also tends to throw it away a fair amount. He's not the only one. Tyrese Hunter tends to do that as well, but you're asking those guys to do a lot, and it's a team that's never played together before. So, frankly, I'm surprised that they are as turnover-prone as they are and yet still winning as much as they are, because it's pretty rare that you see a team turn the ball over as much as Memphis does and still manage to come out on the right side. So, they really haven't been burned by it yet, and it's only a matter of time before they do, because, you look at the game from this past weekend and you go back to the North Texas game. I mean, these are home games that you're kind of barely winning against AAC teams, and North Texas is a decent AAC team, but East Carolina is a team you should wipe the floor with, like they did in the first 10 minutes of that game. And what's going to happen is, sooner rather than later, they're going to get picked off. They're going to get upset because of the turnover problems. And I'm not saying that's the end of the world and that the sky is falling. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. And that's probably the reality of this AAC is that you're going to lose a couple of games that you shouldn't. It's just the nature of the way this thing is this year. You're everybody's Super Bowl, and you're going to get everyone's best shot. And if you're not more careful with the basketball, that's going to lead to you taking a couple of pretty ugly losses.
If they ended up 15-3 in AAC play, I don't think their seed would be extremely affected by that. But 14-4, we're talking a different game in trying to win a game and maybe get to the second weekend. David, what do you think the best seed Memphis can play into? Because it feels pretty stuck, both AP ranking and net ranking. AP this week 18, net 36.
Yeah. So Palm has them at a 3 right now, and I think that's the best that they can probably do. Because, and you say, well, but what about all their wins on their non-conference resume? And I get that, but the problem is they can't add anything. As you say, Brett, they're stuck in terms of the ability to add quality victories. Every other team that's in their neighborhood as a 1, 2, 3, 4 type of seed, they all have resume opportunities, perhaps with the exception of Gonzaga. But even Gonzaga gets a little bit of a chance in the WCC this year to play a couple of teams that might make the tournament as at-larges. So, I mean, that's the difference. Is there's nobody in the league for Memphis to play against of any caliber whatsoever. And so I think it's almost a situation where you're taking a seed bump loss. Like every loss is a seed bump. And so if you lose 5 games, you're probably down to an 8 seed. If you lose 6, you're on the bubble.
Yeah.
And if you lose 3 or 4, then you're probably there around a 6 or a 7. And I mean, honestly, given where this program has been, that's still a really, really good outcome.
It sure would be, and to be where they are, I think it is something that absolutely should be praised and applauded, and I think we have, and I hope we do even more. I mentioned this earlier to Bryant, and I don't want it to be a real thorny subject, but why is a win for Penny Hardaway, but a win is not a win for Ryan Silverfield?
That's interesting. Yeah, so at least with Memphis basketball this season, they had a chance to go out there and prove it against some of the absolute best teams in the nation, and they did that to a pretty high degree. I mean, the 3 losses, with the exception of Arkansas State, 2 of their 3 losses were respectable, and then there's a lot of really good wins on the resume. But I think with Memphis football, the knock on Silverfield is that he struggles to win the big one. And that's the knock on a lot of football coaches in college. You look around the country right now, there's some really good coaches who run good programs whose fans are a tad bit disgruntled because their coach can't win the big one. Right? So
is Texas one of those today?
Texas is kind of in that category because the season ended with Texas not defeating a single top 10 team, in the final rankings. They beat A&M. That counts for something there for sure. But, the 2 times they went up against a truly elite program, they played Georgia twice, and then they played Ohio State. They lost both times, or all 3 times, against those 2 opponents. So it's, I think Texas is rightfully mentionable in that category, and Sarkisian as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Going over to the SEC in basketball, Kentucky, a big road win over the weekend, 95-90 over Mississippi State. This comes right after Kentucky dropped their first conference game against Georgia. It was their first road conference game against the Bulldogs. But this Kentucky team, it feels like at any second can go out there and drop close to, if not 100 points. I think they've had 5 games this year where they've scored 100 or more points. What do you see from this Kentucky team, especially offensively? You've got a guy like Jackson Robinson who followed Mark Pope from BYU. He goes out and has 27 points, all 5 starters with double figures. This Kentucky team, it feels like offensively can pretty much do this any night out.
Yeah, they are super fun to watch. And what makes them different than last year's team that had Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham is that there's 6 guys who can really go out there and lead you in scoring on any given night. In fact, there are 6 players who have led Kentucky in scoring on multiple occasions, and we're just 16 games into the season. So it's almost like a different player every night for the Wildcats. It's a different player every possession.
Yeah.
And that's their greatest strength. I am curious to see, though, if that doesn't end up being their greatest weakness come March, because you often see in the NCAA tournament, it becomes is your star player better than the opponent's star player when there's two really great teams up against each other. So that'll be interesting. I love watching Kentucky. I think Mark Pope is doing an amazing job. But I am curious because there's not, for the first time since 2009, there's not going to be a lottery pick from this Kentucky team. In fact, there's probably not an All-American on this team. And that's what makes it so great is that Pope has constructed a group where the sum is greater than the parts, and that whole deal. And it makes them really fun to watch and fun to root for, I'm sure, if you're a Kentucky fan. But, they don't have that like, clear-cut superstar. And I'm just curious to see how that plays out over the course of the season. But the early returns are obviously really, really encouraging for Kentucky.
David, please repeat that again about the lottery pick for Kentucky.
First time since 2009 that Kentucky will not have a lottery pick. I mean, you look at the roster and tell me, is there a lottery pick? I don't think so. But that would go back to be Billy Gillespie's last year.
His last year.
Yeah, so I think Calipari had a first round. Okay, let me clarify. First round pick. I don't know that all of them were in the lottery, which is the top 14, right? But the Kentucky every year under Calipari had a first round pick. Yeah.
It is remarkable that he only won one in 15 years at Kentucky.
It is kind of when you think about the collection of players that he had come through there. I mean, it's like a quarter of the NBA almost played at Kentucky under John Calipari. So, man, the amassing of talent, never been the problem for John Calipari. Not the problem for John Calipari right now at Arkansas. But doing something with the talent, that takes a whole other level of basketball acumen that I think is kind of passing John Calipari by in this year.
Yeah.
Is Arkansas on borderline going to get ugly alert?
Without a doubt. I mean, this league takes no prisoners, man. It's just brutal. And so, you got your LSUs and your South Carolinas and your Georgias of the world, but even them are not pushovers. And so, I think this could be a 5-13 in the league type of team. I mean, they're off to an 0-3 start.
Georgia's ranked 23rd today in AP.
I mean, first time since 2011 that Georgia's been ranked, I think.
Crazy.
So, I mean, how about that? That just shows you how difficult the league is. And like South Carolina almost beat Auburn this past weekend. Now, of course, Janai Broome got hurt in the second half of that game, but still, they're the worst team in the conference, apparently. And they're just about to take down the number one team in the country. So it's it's brutal. It's brutal. It could get really ugly for Arkansas.
Yeah, shout out Blue Kane, one of the best names in college basketball, knocking
and
down
Knoxville
shots.
native too. Shout out
Knoxville.
Right? That's right. Yeah, now doing things for Georgia. You mentioned the Janai Broome injury. I mean, one of the best players in college basketball this season. I saw the reports that he will not require surgery for the injury, but he could miss some time. What does that mean for this Auburn team?
It means it's going to be hard for them to stick at number one because you take a loss, you're going to lose that spot. And so the good thing for Auburn is that they've got a lot of depth. That's been their MO the last few seasons under Bruce Pearl, and it's no different this year. I mean, they're not quite as 12 deep hockey rotation, line change type deep as they were last year, but they have Dylan Cardwell. That was one of the biggest storylines of this past offseason. And I think one of the most interesting parts of what Bruce Pearl has built is that, he loses guys to the portal just like anyone, but he's able to keep his nucleus intact for the most part year over year and then supplement via freshman recruiting and via the portal. So you go and look at Dylan Cardwell, who anywhere else in the country would have been a 25-minute-a-game big man for the last couple of years, has been willing to stick around and kind of play second fiddle in the post to Janai Broome. So you've got a really solid big still there. And then how about Chris Jones? I mean, I don't even know if people in Memphis remember him at this point because it was so long ago now that he was coming out of West Memphis. But he's in his fifth year as a reserve front court player for Auburn. And you know what? He'll probably get some more minutes, now that Janai Broome is out. He plays 10 to 12 a game and gives them a little something off the bench. But it's a chance for a guy like that to stick around. And, when you have guys like that in your program, it can be a big lift in situations like this. So I think that's a critical piece of what's going to keep Auburn near the top of the SEC, even with Janai Broome out.
David Rick Barnes being criticized by some for comments made about the players being paid, and there are expectations. A lot of that criticism locally is because it's mean old Rick Barnes. I loved everything he said. Everything he said was true, and Bryant and I think probably with you and just kind of in the broad, in the big picture of things, we've talked about how our coverage and our criticism of a college player, how much should it be? Because it's very different now. Used to, how much did you really want to get on that 20-year-old from small town, whatever state, that has to go to psychology class on Tuesday morning? It's different now. I love that Rick Barnes says, look, y'all wanted to be treated like pros. We're treating you like pros. You wanted to be treated like adults. I'm going to give it to you. And with that comes expectation.
Oh yeah, and Rick has never been easy on his guards. He was all up in Jordan Bone's face, 5-6 years ago before they were getting paid, certainly paid legally. And Chaz Lanier is a total pro. I mean, he can handle it. He chose to transfer to Tennessee to get the hard type of coaching that's going to help him get to the next level. Same reason Dalton Connect chose Tennessee. He came on his visit, and they told him, you got a long way to go defensively, young man. And he said, okay, challenge accepted. He went into Tennessee, became the SEC Player of the Year, becomes a first-round draft pick. Chaz Lanier didn't go to Tennessee for everyone to tell him how great he is. He went there because he was going to get paid regardless of where he went. I mean, the guy was an elite three-point shooter, one of the most highly rated transfers in the country. So a guy like that chooses Tennessee because he's going to get that sort of aggressive coaching from a guy like Rick Barnes, who sends players on to the NBA. And let's be real, it's not like Rick Barnes was saying, was denigrating his character. He was literally saying, we want him to shoot the ball. If that's cool.
We drew up a play for you.
Right? Yeah, it's like, dude, if any player out there would love to, should love to be told by their coach that they need to shoot the ball more, and it is quite literally what he is getting paid for. So I don't really understand why there would be criticism or pushback on that, because it's the truth.
It's still really, David, it's still kind of stylistically. I hear some coaches and I hear some media still wanting to kids. No, stop that. Stop calling these legal adults that a lot of them are making a lot of money. Quit talking about them like they're some 11-year-old.
Yeah, right. No kidding. It's 23-year-old guy there, Chaz Lanier. He's in his 5th year of college ball. And Rick Barnes said that with a chuckle in his voice, too. And Tennessee had won the ball game, and Chaz Lanier played a good amount in that game. So it's not like I don't think it's an issue at all. I think it's just still a shock to the system for a lot of people when they hear things like that, because it's just not what we're used to. And so if you've been living under a rock and you hear that, oh, that's what he's getting paid to do, then it's like, oh, wow. But, come on. It's just the truth. It's just the reality of it. And I'll tell you what, Rick Barnes' ability to adapt is what's making him one of the absolute best coaches of the 21st century in college basketball. That's why he should be a Hall of Famer. Look at his peers in the collection of coaches in the age range of 65 to 75 right now. How are they doing? Let's do a quick check-in. Leonard Hamilton, really struggling at Florida State. Jim Larinaga just called it quits at Miami in the middle of the season. Jay Wright's out. Lon Kruger is out. John Calipari
out. Tubby out.
Calipari might not make the tournament. Meanwhile, Rick Barnes has continued to evolve with the sport, both from a schematic standpoint offensively and then from a roster construction standpoint in embracing the NIL and the portal. And it's why he's had Tennessee basketball in arguably the greatest era of program history. I think at this point, there's consistency in the steadiness of what he's accomplished there at Tennessee has officially surpassed what Bruce Pearl did. Now, Pearl came in and revived the dormant program and showed that you could do it, but Rick Barnes inherited a dire situation from Donnie Tyndall, and he's turned Tennessee into the class of the SEC right there with any other team in the conference. So I think, if nothing else, the fact that Rick Barnes is saying that shows you the competency with which he's evolved and developed and continued to grow now as a 70-year-old college basketball.
Yeah, no, it's been impressive. You mentioned Miami and Jim Larinaga stepping down, something that I have loved keeping an eye on. Since Jim Larinaga has stepped down, resigned as the head coach, not only has Miami not won a game, they have not covered a game since he stepped down, so it's something that we're really cued in on. In their next game, they have to take on Cooper Flagg and Duke, and Cooper Flagg has kind of reached another level over the last couple of games, had that highlight viral dunk in a big game against Pitt, had 42 their last game out over the weekend against Notre Dame, and you look, Maluach, who's kind of been up and down, the big center from South Sudan, he's been kind of up and down, but it feels like he's starting to get more consistent. Con Knipple has been so good. They added some of those more veteran guys that have played their roles well. What have you seen lately from this Duke team?
They're a monster. They're tough. There's no real obvious weaknesses with Duke. They've got all the bases covered, everything you could want, from veteran guards to draft, like high caliber draft talent, to the veteran that you mentioned, like Mason Gillis, who they brought in from Purdue, a 6-year guy.
Zion James from Tulane.
Yes, who Memphis fans obviously know quite well from all of his encounters with the Tigers. So it's a complete team. It's a deep team, mega talented. And I think John Shire's a really good coach. I mean, they still have to put it all together and make that deep Final Four run for him to really be validated as one of the best in the sport. But for a guy who had no head coaching experience, who kind of just got the job because he was there and because some of the other Coach K disciples hadn't done very well in their opportunities elsewhere, for a guy who got the job at his age under those circumstances, he's doing a really good job, and the ACC is weak enough to where they should really run away with it. I mean, it really shouldn't be close when the regular season ends. They should probably win that league by 3 games, and I think they're on track to do that.
20-0?
Maybe. North Carolina will have something to say about it. They'll give it the old college try. Obviously, there's 2 meetings between those teams. Even in the thank goodness, even in the 18-team ACC, they still had the presence of mind to make sure those two still play twice. I don't know. I mean, there's no team that Duke won't be favored against. In fact, with the exception of whenever they play at Chapel Hill, which it looks like that's not until the very end of the season, every game until then, they'll be favored probably by double digits. They do play Illinois, but that's out of conference. So, I mean, I think I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I give Memphis Duke is about as good of a chance of running the table in the ACC as I would Memphis in the AAC. I would say it's unlikely, but certainly not impossible.
David, how sick should Texas football be? Should Sark be, Quinn Ewers, that the missed opportunity to at least not be playing in the finals or potentially winning it all? Are we sure Texas will be right back in it next year?
Well, I saw today where Matthew Golden, their leading receiver, is going to go to the draft. He was somebody that's eligible to return, and a lot of times you see those guys who are getting that second or third round grade say, you know what, I can make as much money in college as I can as a rookie in the NFL. I'll just play another year of college. Maybe I'll be a first-round pick next time, And he's obviously choosing a different route, so that's one less guy for Arch to be thrown to. And yes, I said Arch. I think the Quinn Ewers year has run its course at Texas, and I think that was made clear in their loss to Ohio State. He's a high-floor, quality quarterback who got Texas to consecutive semifinals in the college football playoff. He did wonders for Texas. He helped bring Texas back along with Sark. But if Texas is going to take that next step, they got to go to Arch Manning. And I think they kind of tapped out what they could accomplish with a non-mobile, injury-prone quarterback. Now it's time to flip the page. And I think that hope that Arch brings is going to keep people from being too retrospective about the missed opportunity from this past season. Because truth is, you ran into an Ohio State team that's firing on all cylinders, most talented team in the country. So I don't really think there's a ton of shame in losing that game. Now, I'll say this. If Ohio State goes out and loses to Notre Dame in the national championship game, you're going to look and think, man, like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe we should have been there after all. But if Ohio State does what I think they're going to do to Notre Dame and wins that game pretty easily, then I think we'll look back and say, yeah, Texas got beat by a better team, and now we're turning the page to a new era at QB.
One era we've turned the page to, and it's no SEC team in the finals again, just like last year. There's a good chance that there could be a back-to-back Big Ten team winning it, with Jim Harbaugh and Michigan winning it last year, and it looks like Ohio State, heavily favored, could win it a week from tonight. The Big Ten's having a great time at the SEC's expense. I can't blame them after all the years of the SEC rubbing their noses in it. But if they do win it next week, David, do you realize in the AP era, with AP, voting national champions a lot of years, and now, of course, they vote the team that goes all the way through for all these years, the last time a Big Ten team went back-to-back years was 1941 and 42, with Minnesota and Bernie Bierman, and in 1942 with Paul Brown and Ohio State.
Wow. And think about the reason why that happened. It's because all the GIs were off fighting, getting ready to go fight in Europe or the Pacific Theater. I mean, that's crazy to think that it's been that long since that conference has produced back-to-back title winners. That blows my mind a little bit. But, here we are. It's the Big Ten and the SEC, and I don't think there's a ton of separation between the two of them right now. I mean, I think the SEC is a little deeper, but the Big Ten sure has plenty of the high-powered, elite talent. That there's no shortage of that.
No, not at all. Last thing for you, David. You mentioned Quinn Ewers, that maybe it's time. Is Quinn Ewers back in college football next year?
Well, I'll say this. Georgia and Ohio State, they still need quarterbacks, in my opinion. Will Howard's out of eligibility. I'll say this, Notre Dame might need a quarterback too, because, unless they want to go with Steve Angeli, who looked really good when he came in relief duty in the semifinal game for Notre Dame, he could be an option there from within. There's obviously Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. There's obviously Julian Sayin at Ohio State, but he would be a redshirt freshman. He hardly played at all this season. If Georgia and Ohio State aren't totally comfortable with their quarterback situations, and I don't think they should be, there's going to be a massive opportunity for somebody like Quinn Ewers to go to Georgia or to go to Ohio State, make more than he was making at Texas, let Texas move on to Arch Manning, and let Quinn see if he can't. I mean, how crazy would that be if he ended up back at Ohio State, right? But I wouldn't rule it out. I'm just saying, you never know in this era. So I know he kind of leaked to Pete Thamel at ESPN that, he doesn't expect to be back in college, but that could also be a negotiating ploy because it's been been a few days now. We still haven't heard word from him, and that deadline's coming up in 48 hours. So it's, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, if he goes to the draft, fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He'll maybe not be a first round pick, but he'll be selected without a doubt in this quarterback class. And maybe he's just ready to move on and get his professional career started. But boy, if he's willing to listen, I think there's some big time programs out there who'd be willing to pay him.
Yeah, especially after what Carson Beck's reportedly getting from Miami, I would definitely at least listen to some of the other offers out there. But it's going to be fun to keep an eye on, see what he decides. David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, guys, I appreciate it.
Thanks, David. David Cobb joining us to talk some college basketball and college football from CBS Sports with us every single week. And next week with him, we'll do a ton of previewing for that national championship game on National Championship Day. But let's go ahead and get to another break. And when we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. Hey! And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that are just as hard as you. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is the ACUSA Church downtown Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of accidents in their clearing stages. A little bit of volume just in the last few minutes on, let's say, Sam Cooper going outbound as that traffic starts to pick up coming off 40 there on the Jackson-Austin P Highway as you head outbound. As you head up through the Millerton area there on 51 going northbound up through Woodstock. We've watched that increase with more volume. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis Shelby County. Check out the animals right now that are available for adoption by logging on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up. Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it. It is good! Oh, my! Get a deflection is caught! Deflection is caught! And down the sidelines is Attaboy Joe. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
Ohio State doubled up Texas on Friday night, 28-14, to advance to the college football playoff national championship game that will be played a week from tonight in Atlanta, where Texas had just been a few weeks back in the SEC championship game, but no return trip. A player with SEC roots, Quinshon Judkins, 2 touchdowns for the Ohio State Buckeyes. A couple of SEC defensive players as well for Ohio State and the center for Ohio State. But that's the way of the sport now. Ohio State, they win 28-14. It was sealed late in the game with the Jack Sawyer 83-yard scoop and score after just some abominable play calling on 1st and goal, getting ready to push it in for the tie and see what happened for Texas.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, that defensive stand by Ohio State was really fun to watch. And you mentioned Jack Sawyer with the scoop and score for him. And they talked a lot about how he and Quinn Ewers were roommates at Ohio State earlier in their careers. So, kind of a fun storyline there. Obviously, one side of that a lot happier than the other. But you mentioned Quinshon Judkins. I mean, it's been what we have talked about. Ohio State went out in the offseason and bought a very talented roster. And at times this year we were asking, well, all right, when is that roster that they bought and they brought in going to step up and really make them a team to be reckoned with? Well, we saw it in this game. Quinshon Judkins goes out there, 2 rushing touchdowns. Will Howard, who they got in the portal, nearly 300 yards and a passing touchdown. It was those guys that really stepped up in this game for them against a Texas team that felt like they were right there and, like we said earlier, had opportunities to go out there and win this game.
Will Howard, the quarterback for Ohio State, 24 of 33 for 289, a touchdown and 1 interception. That was just a little bit better yardage-wise than Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, 23 of 39, 283 for Texas, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Arch Manning, only a rush for 8 yards. A lot of people thinking that he should have played more. Here's my take on that. Steve Sarkisian wanted to win that game. You win that game, you're playing for it all. There's no reason he would not play him if he thought he could be effective. Never mind where Quinn Ewers may go, hurt feelings, I'm out of here if I don't play. That may have been a factor late October in a regular season game or even in a November game, but you don't get to that point and leave something on the bench that could have helped you.
No, and Brett, you've been all over this for the last, really all year, but certainly we've talked about it a lot these last couple of weeks of, yes, there is a lot of people that have been saying, hey, Arch needs to get out there and play more. Why are they not using Arch more, whether it's in these run packages or just throwing him out there at the quarterback position? But you're right, especially in the semifinal game where Texas was right there. It's not like Texas got blown out or anything. They were right there in this game. If Sark thought that Arch gave them some sort of edge somewhere, he would have thrown him out there. I don't care if it was, hey, look, Arch had a really good week at practice. I think he's the better quarterback. In the semifinal game, you're throwing him out there to play over Quinn Ewers because you're right. You don't know what happens with Quinn Ewers after this is done, but you can't worry about that in the semifinal game. So, yes, I think what we have seen late this season has been a reflection of Sarkisian thinks Arch is a very good quarterback, but he has at least shown or has proven that he's just not ready yet, and Sark is not going to throw somebody out there that's not ready in these big-time moments.
We saw Arch late in that Georgia game in Austin, and nobody was ready for that withering attack that Georgia was putting up that night. Texas finished 13-3. Great year.
Great year. I mean, it's hard because Texas has that. They're Texas. They're bigger than everything, and we're always waiting for. And it's partially their own doing of any time they have any sort of success, big or small, they want to claim Texas is back. We're back. Look at us, and so they bring a lot of it on themselves. But you look at them, what they had going into the season, and you were going, okay, it should be a big year. And obviously you can't get mad at them when your losses on the season are 2 losses against Georgia and a loss against Ohio State. That's a really good year, but you got to think they're kicking themselves a little bit right there with an opportunity to go to the national championship game.
Completes an 8-7, 8 wins, 7 losses bowl season for the SEC.
Wow.
That's bad.
That's disappointing. And I know we don't use that word, but that is what that is.
No, it's bad.
It's
you
bad.
You may be disappointed. I think
yes.
It's bad. What was the SEC Gold Star Bowl win? Was it Texas in overtime over Arizona State?
Probably.
Because after that,
I'm going
Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl, Ole Miss in the Gator Bowl.
No. I mean, certainly, I guess if you're just talking about runaway
Florida
wins, no.
What bowl was Florida in? Gasparilla Bowl?
Gasparilla Bowl. That's right. That was on a Friday afternoon.
Florida over Tulane, you going can fly that flag real high?
No. I mean,
Texas over Clemson, but that was at home. It was good.
Sure,
it was Texas.
It had to be in Texas. Maybe pick whichever one of those two you want to pick. But I would say, Texas, because some of these Vanderbilt over Georgia Tech. No, I mean it wasn't a great bowl season. It wasn't a good bowl season at all for the SEC.
Not full obituary being written for the SEC, but a lot of people enjoyed getting their licks in.
Definitely.
That goes with the territory.
Yeah, and the way some of these games went down, when you have Alabama commit 3 turnovers in the first quarter and lose to Michigan, a Michigan team that really didn't have a great season, when you have Texas A&M up by double digits in the fourth quarter, and then USC, comes back in the final 10 or so minutes and wins that game. A lot of
for USC.
Yes, exactly. A lot of the way these games happen. Oklahoma goes up 14-0 just like that to start the game, and then Navy comes back and beats them. I think a lot of it was people were having fun the way, not only the fact they were losing, but the way that they were losing.
Looked very human, didn't it?
And it was kind of, oh, hey, look, Texas A&M, they're going to, kill USC. And then very quickly it came all crashing down.
The Oklahoma effort, that was the spin the ball game that I was trying to remember the other day. Oklahoma, they scored on that first drive. Looked great. Looked like the route's on. The all-world spinning the ball on the ground after touchdowns. Maybe put a little more effort into some other things than that, Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, that was the thing they were on top of the world there at the beginning of the game. Touchdown on the first two possessions, looked like Navy had no answers. That Oklahoma defense against Navy was probably the best defense Oklahoma has played all season long. Navy could not move the ball, and we know, I don't care if you're Alabama or if you're Rice, that Navy offensive attack is going to give teams
until
issues.
The record Navy rushing touchdown.
Yes, and that's the thing.
Oh, buddy, Frank Horvath.
That's right, Blake Horvath.
Blake, I'm sorry, Buddy Frank. He was not too good at Buddy. If I don't know.
Well,
Blake
we might have to reevaluate that kinship. But no, you talk about this, just what Oklahoma's defense was able to do against Navy. They couldn't move the ball at all, and then after half, Navy comes out and, makes it look easy, and you have that big, long run, and just very quickly, Oklahoma ends up losing that game.
The much-discussed welcome to the SEC schedule that Texas got this year. We get the same opponents, not exactly at the same time as last year. Here's the Texas schedule for next year.
Okay.
They open at the Horseshoe in Columbus on the banks of the old Intangi, August 30th prediction, game day. That's where they'll be.
Oh, yeah.
Opening day, probably for the national champions, playing Texas. So, Texas at Ohio State. Week 2, Texas hosts San Jose State. Then September 13th, home against UTEP. Off the 20th, open date the 20th. And yes, FBS schedules often list it as open. Have you noticed that?
I did not
buy, because
you're
not buying anything. It's not a bracket.
Now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. They do list it as
Saturday, September 27th, Sam Houston at home at DKR. October 4th, to the Swamp in the Battle of We're Backs.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be a really good game.
Then Red River, October 11th, to Kentucky, October 18th, to Mississippi State, October 25th. Long time in between games at DKR. In fact, go from September 27th to November 1st with a game at home in Austin, and then they get at home against Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. Off November 8th. Then Saturday, November 15th at Georgia. Saturday, November 22nd, home against the Razorbacks. And it says now Saturday, November 29th, that game could move around against Texas A&M at home in Austin.
Yeah, that will some interesting games.
That's tougher than this year.
It's definitely tougher, and a lot of that is kind of how some of those teams are. Yes, and the ATS being on the road, some of those plays. Florida on the road with DJ Lagway and what he could be. But that opening game against Ohio State, David Cobb kind of mentioned it. But if Quinn Ewers makes the decision to come back, and maybe Ohio State says, hey, we'll bring a veteran quarterback in for next year, and you've got first game of the season, Arch Manning leading Texas and Quinn Ewers leading Ohio State. Far-fetched, but that would be a good way to start the season.
Yeah, that'd be a good storyline for game day. Guarantee you they're there opening weekend.
We should have both had that on our 2025 predictions, is that is game day, week 1.
We weren't playing for easy predictions like that.
No, but that would have been, that's the free space on bingo is they're going to that one, because you're right. No, there's no question about it. They're going to go to that game.
That's a look back at Sissy's Log Cabin weekend in the SEC. It wasn't a lot of games this weekend, but that was the only one, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies. Great location at 4542 Poplar. Bill Jones and his great team, they are here to stay. Supporter of Tiger Athletics and sponsor of our look back every week on Mondays at 4:30 of the SEC. The Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, necklaces, earrings, wedding bands, engagement rings, 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more since 1970 with all the great locations across the Mid-South. Sissy's, they offer a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts. Official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies and FedEx Forum with the Floor Seat Lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Let's get to another break. When we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The Family Leisure floor model sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beer seating? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model sale. Now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342.
There's no place like home, Town Village.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 912715199.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business. At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 95 once again, Records Irving and Ryan Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
All right, I have two big numbers today, and somehow they're both the same number, but they don't have anything to do with each other. The only thing that they do have to do with each other is that they're both NFL big numbers, but they are not connected past that point. The big number is 3. The first number 3 has to do with the LA Rams. Each of the LA Rams' last 4 playoff games have been decided by 3 or fewer points. Maybe something to keep in mind for tonight's game if you're wagering on the game tonight. That is the longest such streak in NFL postseason history. So wins, loss, whatever it might be, the Rams in the playoffs play very close football games.
Would that encompass their Super Bowl win?
I guess it was.
So you go back to that one against Cincinnati?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and
I don't remember how close it was. I know it was close, but I don't know if it was within 3.
But it might. It definitely might.
That's a good one.
But they have definitely been playing close football. The second one, I saved this for last because I think this is the best big number that I could have had today. That number is also 3. In NFL history, there have been 3 instances of a team having 0 turnovers and 0 punts in a game behind a rookie starting quarterback. That includes both regular season and postseason. It's only happened 3 times in NFL history. Now, I bring this up because one of those times happened last night when Jaden Daniels led the Washington Commanders to a win where they had 0 turnovers and did not punt at all. Why this is such a big number is because the other 2 instances also happened this year and also happened with Jaden Daniels. Week 2 and Week 3, the Commanders recorded wins while having 0 turnovers and 0 punts, with Jaden Daniels being the starting quarterback. He is on his way to stardom. He has been so much fun to watch this season and has at least one playoff win under his belt as a rookie. So very, very fun stuff from Jaden Daniels.
Boy, LSU fans, they have a lot to cheer for every Sunday watching Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, both of them Heisman Trophy winners. And Joe Burrow delivered a national championship with that galaxy of stars around him. He was vital to it. Jaden Daniels didn't have near the supporting cast that Joe Burrow had. My big number is 58. I left this out in our look back at the weekend in the SEC. It was 58 yards rushing for Texas. That's hard to believe Texas football can only get 58. Now, it was not a big rushing game. No. Ohio State won the rushing battle, and now with 45 bowl games completed, the team that wins the rushing battle is 33-12.
Wow.
That's 733 percentage. If you win the passing battle, you're 22-23, and Ohio State won that. Also, that's 488 percentage-wise. Favorites 26-19. The underdog, of course, 19-16, going over 25-20, under 20-25.
Wow, yeah, we talk about it all the time, but you give me 73% anything, I'll take that over 48% every single day.
Yeah, 733 percentage over 488 to get successfully to the car in the parking lot.
Right.
I take.
Right. Yes, I will take 73. It doesn't matter. I mean, give me any type of situation. I'm taking that 70% every single time. But no,
with the snow, have you seen any big snowmen around?
Oh yeah, I mean not huge, but I've seen some good.
I didn't see any great ones out of this one.
Of
course, I didn't get out a lot.
Yeah, I think for me though, it's been a while since you've seen a good snowman, and so just to kind of see, hey, that's a good snowman.
Well, this was the snow fart.
It was.
It was moist. No, I had any bad weather. Now I have 2 goals: body shop and body shop. Body shop for the vehicle and orthopedist for me.
Smart.
I want to avoid both of them.
Yeah, it's probably good. So you did that over the weekend. So
my back steps may thaw out about 4th of July because it gets no sun.
Yeah, no, it's what I was.
It's ice station 0 down my back steps.
I was talking to somebody about that yesterday. Or maybe it was Saturday. It's funny kind of seeing the difference of areas that get full sunlight and how clear and perfectly fine they are.
Yeah.
And then some place that is always in the shade. And,
May never thaw out,
Yeah,
it feels like.
It still looks like, the day after the snow. So it's been kind of fun to keep track on.
And the weather was bad in Dallas around that Ohio
It
State
was.
Texas game.
Yeah, it definitely was. I texted when that game started. I texted my buddy that lives in Dallas, and I asked him, how much snow did y'all get? And he said a little over an inch of snow. So definitely some.
Well, that's freak out. For them.
For them, it's crazy. So he
they
said
freak more than we do.
Yeah.
Now the place in the South, and it makes sense. It's a lot more southern, and it's even more rare than us.
Yeah.
Let's say MLG or Memphis City works.
Mm-hmm.
One snowplow, two.
Yeah, maybe.
0 in New Orleans.
Oh,
man. A dusting is freak out in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, the thought of having something for snow in New Orleans is just foreign. But no, yeah, a lot of places got it over the weekend, and you saw a lot of places not used to it. A little bit of a freak out.
No Twitter site loves the snow stadium pictures more than the SEC do.
Oh man,
you don't ever see Michigan State send out a picture of their stadium in snow. That thing's encased in snow 8 months a year.
They're all used to it. People don't like the snow pictures up there. They like the clear pictures, the sunny pictures. But
SEC Twitter sites love to send out that snow picture.
Love a good snow picture. They're fun to look at. I mean, beautiful in the snow. But no, we certainly got it over the weekend. But
I would beg some of the people don't do it. It might give them more reason to stop the game over weather.
yes. No. Ooh. That is starting to become an issue, Brett.
I think my next 2-hour weather delay is going to be my last one. Whenever I run into that.
They're tough.
I didn't get any this year.
No, not many. You didn't run into weather at all, really, this year. So
I didn't.
That's good.
Nor cold.
No.
I mean, cooler at the Egg Bowl, but it was not cold. It was not miserable.
Nothing like, what was that, 2 years ago at Arkansas? Was that?
Oh, that was all time.
Oh man, you're still trying to thaw from that game.
It did something to me in that performance. It did something to me too.
Well, yes, that does not surprise me. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that the ice and snow is getting out of here as we start to kind of warm up. But we need to go ahead and get to another break. But before we do that, let me remind you about our 4 o'clock with us every couple days commissary. Look, we're getting closer to the dinner hour, and maybe you were cooped up the last couple of days with all of the ice and snow. Want to get out and think of what can we get in Memphis. You think of the world famous Memphis style barbecue. You can get it any night at the commissary with locations in Germantown and Collierville. Stop in for lunch or dinner or get it to go. Start your meal with an appetizer like the cheese plate, chicken wings, or my favorite, the barbecue nachos. For more than 40 years, the commissary has been a staple in this area. In big part, it's because of the quality of food they serve. My go-to, it's got to be the ribs, but it's hard to resist that barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled, get it by the plate or by the pound. It also comes in handy with the sandwich packs. Feed the whole group with a 6-pack, 8-pack, even a 12-pack. And don't forget about the desserts like the delicious banana pudding, brownie, or the lemon icebox pie. Check out the entire menu and catering options at commissarybbq.com. Whether you've got a watch party coming up for your favorite team, or maybe you just want to go out there and support, or maybe you're having an office party, let the commissary cater your next event. Give them a call, 901-754-5540. That's 901-754-5540. Make any event perfect, but stop in either locations. Maybe tonight you want to watch the Grizzlies game. Go out to either location. Germantown open daily till 8 p.m. and in Collierville open till 9 p.m. for that world famous Memphis style barbecue at the commissary. Well, let's get to a break and wrap up our second hour. When we return, we're talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole.
No obligation quote from the movie experts at Black Tie Movie.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting to get a little bit heavy on 240 East up by Poplar, approaching Walnut Grove. It's finally starting to pick up on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Not surprised to see it starting to build now through the Midtown area on 240 South over here in South Parkway. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. South brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again,
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our third and final hour. And joining us, like he does every single Monday afternoon, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, DeMichael Cole, joins us now. And we talked about this team a lot last week, but the Grizzlies on the road tonight against the Houston Rockets. Kind of weird how the schedule falls out. Saw Houston on Thursday, seeing them again tonight on the road, and then the final game in January, you'll see Houston again at home. DeMichael, what does this do for the Grizzlies? What does it mean for the Grizzlies? How does it help or hurt this Grizzlies team to see the same team 3 times in such a short span?
I think in this case it's really helpful, guys, and particularly because this is good playoff prep for the Grizzlies. If you look at the way the season's played out, and you just look at all the changes that the Grizzlies have made, and from just talking to people around the league, talking to opponents, teams are really just now starting to get an idea for what the Grizzlies like to do, especially on the offensive end. They're just starting to kind of cause the Grizzlies to adjust a little bit, for lack of better words. So with all that being said, this is going to be the third time they've played Houston. Houston's gotten the better of them twice, and Houston really tested a lot of those principles that you'll need in the playoffs. So this is a big picture game to me. It's not about this game and what it means for the Western Conference playoff picture and things like that. It's more about how this game will help you prepare for the playoffs. You get a really good idea seeing this team, Houston. This is a playoff team. They're very, defensive minded. You get a better idea of what our true weaknesses and strengths are. You played them twice. Houston has developed in those two games. They've been sound and better than the Grizzlies in a lot of key areas. You know, things like turnovers, toughness, physicality. All those things have come into play and went in Houston's favor. So, you know, when you think about this game, it's good test for where the Grizzlies need to make the most improvement as they get to the trade deadline and as well as they prep for the playoffs.
And DeMichael, after we get past the trade deadline for both of these teams, as Bryant mentioned, that late January fourth and final meeting between these two, you got to get a whole new book by playoff time. If the standings held as they are today, these two would meet in a second round matchup with Houston having home court advantage. I don't know if it holds or not, but if it does, but both of these teams could be certainly different, if not radically different, by May 10th.
Yeah, and that would be fun. That series, I'm telling you, it would be fun. There are all the storylines there and whatnot, but in addition to those storylines, it's just a good competitive series from the standpoint of two teams who they got a lot of internal talent that they've kind of built up, right, with the Rockets, all those kids that they drafted over there, in addition to adding the veterans around them. It's kind of similar to how Memphis did it. And the funny part is they're using some of the veterans that kind of helped turn the corner in Memphis. You know, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, two guys who really helped Memphis find its physicality and its toughness. They're doing the same thing in Houston, and Ime Udoka was the one who pointed that out, actually. So a lot of storylines that come with these two teams, but yeah. Look, I think you pointed out something that's very important, Brett, and it's the fact that no matter, that's why I said this is more big picture than small picture to me. If Houston wins this one, they're 3-0 against you, and everyone's going to be saying, man, can we beat Houston? But you also got to go to the playoffs last year. I remember there was a first-round playoff series where, you know, the Suns played the Timberwolves. Remember that series? And I remember going into that series, all the talk was Phoenix was undefeated against the Timberwolves in the regular season. And they went defeated in that playoff series. You know, they did win one game against Minnesota. So sometimes it works out that way. And there are other, examples. I mean, I think the Nuggets went undefeated in the regular season against the Lakers, and then they pretty much 4-1 the Lakers at that point, so it kind of was similar. But yeah, I think this is just good test material for the Grizzlies just to see where they are as a team.
Yeah, and you always want those tests. DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal with us on all things Grizzlies. He joins us every Monday, and we so appreciate it. DeMichael, and I'm with you. Sign me up now for May playoffs against the Rockets. The Grizzlies and the Rockets have never met in the postseason, and they're both kind of young men, young teams in a hurry. I like that corollary that you painted, but more than anything else, DeMichael, compared to a year ago right now, when we knew we're going to have to play out the string, and it was going to be a bunch of games that you had to play out. You kind of had to eat the rest of that year, not this year. We're not talking about if playoffs. We're talking about when and against who.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of a comforting feeling in a way, but at the same time, you want to take advantage of it. You know there's an opportunity here. We talked about it before the season, guys. Last season, it was out of your control, but it was a missed opportunity. I felt like last year was a good fill-out year, and this could have been the year where it's championship or bust. But now it feels kind of like you sit back, like you want this season to be championship or bust, of course, but at the same time, it's a little unfair because we haven't seen, enough of the core players together to where we know firmly how this team would compete in a playoff series. So I think, we're learning more about this team and whatnot. But what we do know is this is a playoff team. This is a team that they can beat anybody. They beat the Celtics. They just won against Minnesota on the road after Minnesota had won 3 consecutive games. They can beat anybody. But at the same time, if you look at the numbers, they have struggled against the top teams. But at the same time, they've been missing a lot of guys. So you want to see all that stuff finally materialize so you can just get the full picture of what this Grizzlies team can and will be.
You mentioned Minnesota a couple minutes ago, and the Grizzlies, a really good win over the Timberwolves over the weekend. And John Morant kind of became the story because of what he did in those clutch moments at the end of the game to secure that win for the Grizzlies. But you look at what he did, you look at what Jaren Jackson Jr. did. He had another big game on the road. We know that Minnesota has some good bigs. They've got a defensive player of the year over there and some other really good bigs that were guarding him throughout the night. What did you see from both Ja Morant in that game on the road against Minnesota and Jaren?
I mean, they did what the star players do. You know, they made plays, and you know, in the case of Jaren Jackson Jr., he's been the most consistent player on the team from beginning of the season to date, and he continued to show that in this game. He was very consistent. He was steady. He really was dominant in that second quarter. But Ja, you know, that was a mentally strong game for him. You know, he didn't really have it all game, right? But when you needed him the most, you know, late in the fourth quarter, game on the line, he came through with three really good plays. You know, the assist to Brandon Clark, and then scoring the two baskets, one over Rudy Gobert, and then the other one over Anthony Edwards, with Rudy Gobert kind of like closing in as well. It was an impressive close to the game. You know, a game he shot 5 from 19 from the field, only had, I think, 5 assists, 12 points, but he finished strong, and that was all that mattered. So they did what they're supposed to do. It's this league is a star-driven league, and when you have multiple stars, you have to have the ability. When one guy doesn't have it, the other guy's got to have the ability to step up and rise to the occasion. Even Desmond Bane, you know, in this case too, 21. I think he had 5 rebounds and 5 assists as well. So it was an off night for Ja Morant, and you can't have off nights from Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dez, and that wasn't the case. You know, those two guys stepped up to assist Ja Morant.
DeMichael, you know you're having a good year when you have a bunch of wins of the year. In Saturday night in Minneapolis, especially against that very talented team. I know their record this year just 2 over 500, 20 up, 18 down. But we know the past with them, we know the present with them, and we know how loaded they are in playing there. And to get that win, I don't know if it was the win of the year, but it's in a good group.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's in a good group. They hadn't beaten Minnesota in Minnesota since 2021, like 6 consecutive losses to the Timberwolves in Minnesota. That was definitely something that was notable. But so it was impressive in that way. I mean, that building's always packed out there. It's a tough crowd. It was one of the more impressive wins, especially considering the fact Ja didn't have it. His best game, and the Timberwolves came into that game winners of 3 straight. Like, they came in playing well, so it was a tough one. But you definitely can put that in the conversation as one of the best wins of the season.
Do you think Ja was feeling puny Saturday night? Some health issues around him. They called it cold and flu and respiratory season for a reason. I think that's what he's experiencing, isn't he?
I don't know exactly what his illness is right now. I know he wasn't at shoot around in the morning, and we'll know here soon. You know, the real context of if he's going to play or not. I know that they're hopeful and whatnot, but as I said to someone earlier, like when it comes down to these things, look, I've seen guys miss shoot around because they were ill and didn't play, and I've seen guys miss shoot around and not even come on the bench during the game because they had to stay back at the hotel room and things like that. So we'll know more in a little bit. As in regards to the Minnesota game, I wasn't in Minnesota on the trip, but I don't think he was sick then. He definitely, hasn't, I would say, hasn't displayed he hasn't looked as joyous as he tends to look on the court. But it wasn't even just that Minnesota game. It was the first game back against Houston as well. I'm not sure exactly what to pinpoint that to, but I don't know if it had anything to do with him being ill.
Speaking of shoot-around, you had a video earlier this morning at the Grizzlies shoot-around. Vince Williams getting some shots up. What is your feeling on the latest with him and G.G. Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are doing a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Like I think at this point it's just when the Grizzlies want to take the training wheels off. That's kind of where we are at this stage. I think Vince Williams has started to do, work. He's practicing in those rehab groups, right, where they're getting up and down the floor. The intensity's up a little bit. Same thing with G.G. Jackson. He's done some 5-on-5 things. He's been practicing with the Hustle a couple times. He's practicing with the Grizzlies. I've seen these guys really breaking sweats and really getting after it. Like, they're working. So it's at this point, it's building up. Both these guys have missed a lot of times, and the Grizzlies just don't want them to come back and have any type of setbacks or whatever the case may be. So I think they're just being very cautious with the approach. But from what I've seen, both of them look good. It's only a matter of time. I know Taylor Jenkins said more closer towards the end of the month. So we'll see what exactly that means. But I would figure over the next week or so, you should probably see those dudes.
Grizzlies and trade deadline, it feels like it's a lot more energy to those stories nationally than locally. DeMichael, is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think it's easy nationally to put the Grizzlies in this conversation because anytime, the first thing you do when you hear certain stars are going to be available, you say, okay, what nationally? Not if you're a fan of a certain team. You say, okay, what teams will it make sense for this player to go to? Where does it make sense? And if you look at the Grizzlies with all these wings kind of being shopped around, right? The Cam Johnsons, the Jimmy Butlers, the Brandon Ingrams, whoever. When you look at their situation, most people, when they follow the Grizzlies, they know John Morant, Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey. That's who they know. Should they know Jalen Wells? Yeah, I think so. But those four guys are who they know, and then they know the fifth starter is a rookie second-round pick. Yeah, he won Western Conference Rookie of the Month, whatnot. We see it, but I still feel like there's levels to Jalen Wells getting that national attention that Zach Edey has been getting since college. So it's a little different situation from him. But with all that being said, I think it's just easy for people to say, the Grizzlies have all their picks, they have tradable contracts, and they have a rookie playing at the position, that a Cam Johnson or a Jimmy Butler or whatever wing that you could think of being available, Dorian Finney-Smith. They have a rookie playing that position. So it's the easy solution is to put Memphis in these conversations because they don't have to do anything super complex like some other teams do. Like the Suns and the Jimmy Butler stuff. You got to try to figure out a way to get a player to waive his no-trade clause by sending him to somewhere that he's going to waive it. Like, it's just much more complicated for certain teams, whereas with the Grizzlies, it's pretty simple math. So I think that's why they keep coming up in these conversations. But as you said, locally here, there isn't much right now. And I'll end it with this and basically say that, look, the Grizzlies are in a situation. We were just talking about G.G. Jackson. We were just talking about Vince Williams Jr. I think as those guys get back, we'll see, how they progress. And in my opinion, this part is only my opinion, I think their progression will play a role in how aggressive the Grizzlies are at the deadline. If those guys are playing, out of their minds, I think the Grizzlies will be mildly aggressive. If G.G. Jackson and Vince Williams come back and it's like, I don't know if they're playoff ready yet, then the Grizzlies will probably be a little bit more aggressive. But as of this moment right now, from what I've heard, things are pretty quiet. It's January 13th. Trade deadline is until, I think, February 6th. So it's quiet right now. We'll see what happens as, the next 2-3 weeks unfold.
Got to get here fast, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it doesn't take long to strike a deal when you're a team like Memphis. Like I said, they got a lot of assets. They got a lot of their own assets. So, if they want to make something happen, they can do it.
Going back to tonight's game against the Houston Rockets, we saw just last week Houston come into Memphis and get a win on the road. Now the Grizzlies go down there. What type of adjustments do you expect to see for tonight's game? What do you want to see tonight? Because I know, the big one, Alperen Sengun had a really, really good night Thursday against this Grizzlies front court. What do you expect to see changed from last Thursday to tonight?
Yeah, he cooked them right. I expect a few adjustments. I think Brandon Clark should be a key player in this game. We know Jaren Jackson Jr. Is probably your best option to guard Alperen Sengun in situations, but Sengun is crafty, right? Very. He can draw fouls. That's what happened last time with Zach Edey, and Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark had 5 fouls in that last game. But I thought individually, Brandon Clark did not defend Sengun bad. It's just he was fouling and he was getting called for fouls. He had 5 fouls, and it was tough. So I think you're hopeful that, Zach Edey can kind of learn from that last situation and play much better, because when he's on the floor, they're going to rebound the basketball better. Houston's the number 1 rebounding team in the league. The Grizzlies are number 2. So you would love to have Zach Edey, playing better basketball so he can play more than 18 minutes like he played in the last game against Houston. But at the same time, I think Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr. are pretty reliable options. You got to match the toughness and the physicality. I asked Taylor Jenkins before the last game, how do you do it? It seemed like he just said it's a mindset, it's a mentality thing. Look, the Grizzlies know when they play these dudes, it's going to be physical. And quite frankly, for me, when I'm watching the game, I'm looking at how many times are Grizzlies players complaining about missed foul calls. Because look, I just call it how I see it. And in my mind, you can't tout every time you feel like there's a missed call when you're playing a team like Houston. Because think about it. If you're a very physical basketball team and you see the opponents just whining to the referees, you think you got the mental battle won. Look at them. They're complaining. You're thinking you got the mental battle won. You're like, oh, yeah, they're done. And both times the Grizzlies have played this Clippers team. I mean, not this Clippers team. I was thinking of the Clippers, too. The Rockets, the Clippers, the Mavs, and the Lakers. In each of those games, every one that I've been to, they have complained about fouls a considerable amount. So I think you just we got to match the physicality. They want to play a little rougher. We're going to match that. Now, if you match that and then calls don't go in your favor, then that's another conversation. But, yeah, you got to match the physicality, because Houston's going to keep challenging you because they think they're tougher than you.
DeMichael, I'm right there with you. The fussiest, whiniest team about officiating are fans. It's always a direct linkage to the defeated, to the team that's losing.
Yeah, it's if you're that other team, if you're the Rockets and you see every time they go up the floor, they're looking at the referees and saying, "I can't get a foul call." You're liking that. You're like, "Oh, they're not trying to match us physically. They're not liking what we're doing to them, and you're going to keep doing it, and you're going to keep weighing on them." So yeah, the Grizzlies just got to bring it back to them. Say, okay, they're getting away with that. Let's add a little bit more, because if the referees called the game right, they're going to let you do the same thing.
DeMichael, I look at Zach Edey for the year: 25 games played, 18 starts, averaging 10 points and 7.5 rebounds. What more could people really have expected from him?
That's about it. I mean, I think that's
about
right
it.
Now, given what he did as a collegiate player, and I know certain people had expectations on him that were going to be hard for him to match, and quite frankly, he's getting better. So I think as time goes on, those numbers will probably trend upward for him. I mean, the rebounding has already started to do so, but we'll see. I think the scoring at some point will start to get in that direction. But yeah, it's a solid rookie year. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I looked at all these rookie center numbers, and what you see is this is kind of how rookie center's year tends to go. It's more space in the NBA for them to operate. If you talk about the collegiate basketball game where there's no 3 seconds in the key, if you look at a decent amount of Zach Edey's turnovers, I wish I had the exact number for you, but I don't. But I've seen him called. I mean, you guys have noticed this probably as well. He's been called for offensive 3 in the key, a decent amount of times. And even when he hasn't been called for it, there's been a lot of games this season where I've seen the opposing coach complaining to the referee about Zach Edey, having, defensive 3 seconds or offensive 3 in the key or whatever the case may be. So, there's adjustments, being made there. He's got to learn, he can keep his feet in the paint. If he tags, a player on the opposing team as they pass by and things like that. So it's little things like that, but I think he's progressing well.
Absolutely. Going back to that Rockets game last week, there was a lot made about Taylor Jenkins and the timeout he called at the very end of the game. Desmond Bane, right after the timeout's called, drills a 3 that would have tied it. What did you make of kind of everything in that kind of end-of-game situation? I know Taylor Jenkins, in his press conference after the game, took blame for it, said that was on him. I think we wouldn't be having this conversation if Desmond didn't take the shot or missed the shot. It was because he made the shot that it's become a conversation. But what did you make of that kind of end-of-game situation?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when the player grabs the rebound, for one, I think it needs to be communicated. And if I was coaching in that situation and I say, hey, we get this rebound, we immediately call timeout.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they didn't call timeout right away, that is where I would have, taken the gloves off. All right, we got to play at this point. Because now when you call timeout, and which Taylor Jenkins did, but, it's hard when you're in the moment, right? But now he waits till Desmond Bain gets all the way up the floor because he has to. Because now, when you call timeout when they grab the rebound, they advance the ball. Mm-hmm. But after he takes a dribble and you call a timeout, they're gonna put you wherever he would have been in the backcourt. So it would have been a long way to go. So basically, what Taylor Jenkins did when he called the timeout was you only gave him 3 seconds, and it was an easy decision for Houston. Just foul him because when they get the ball back, they're not going to have enough time to try to make a shot. So, in other words, that's why the Grizzlies had to intentionally miss a free throw or whatever the case may be. Yeah. It was excellent strategy from Houston. But, yeah, in that situation, I'm always a proponent of get the rebound and call a timeout immediately. If he would have called a timeout on the rebound, I think it would have been roughly 5-6 seconds left in that game. And Houston, it would have been a tougher choice to foul immediately, even though they probably still would have did it, but it would have been a little bit tougher of a choice. But when you see Dez grab the rebound and he's going up the floor, at that point, you just let him play it out. Yeah. And unless it's 10 seconds left, if there was more time left, okay, you can see if they get somewhere nice, and if they make a play of it, they make a play. But if they get in a troublesome situation, then you call a timeout to get them out of it. But yeah, I understand why he felt the way he felt, and I understand why you said what you said. And if I'm in that situation, I'm trying to call timeout immediately. Anything that happens after the rebound, you're just in the moment. You get that situation 10 times, he probably handles it different 5 or 6 times. But.
Yeah, no, I like your approach. I think that is definitely the way to go. Well, DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us. A lot of road games coming up. Already one behind us with Minnesota, but now tonight against the Rockets, and then 2 games at the end of the week against San Antonio. We always appreciate your time. I guess we will not talk with you next week because of the MLK Day game, so enjoy that. I know that is a really fun day downtown, but enjoy this week, and we'll catch up with you in a couple weeks.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, DeMichael.
Thank you, DeMichael. Yeah, you're right, Bryant. A lot of Texas for this week.
Man.
Houston tonight, and then a whole lot of San Antonio and the River Walk the rest of the week.
Yeah, get used to the state of Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. So,
it is.
Hopefully some big wins
but you know what?
for the Grizzlies.
The players like it because in Texas, even for those game checks, nothing's coming out of that check tonight.
That's right.
And this week.
That's right.
And at the end of the year, that matters.
It does. It does. It's the little things, Brad.
Yeah.
It's the little things that matter. Well, Brad, I know we still have a couple minutes left in this segment. Tonight against Houston, what do you want to see? What do you expect? I love what DeMichael said kind of about defending Sengun, because it felt like last time against Zach Edey, against Jay Huff, who I think is questionable for tonight's game, he really did whatever he wanted, so maybe switching that up, getting Brandon Clark or Jaren on him might be a better way to go for the Grizzlies.
I want to see him a little bit like DeMichael said about the a little bit complaining about the officiating against them. Bow up against them. 0-2 against them. Yeah. The loss last week at home. The loss, the first Friday night of the year, second road game of the year, second game of the year. Mm-hmm. It's time to square up against them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Play a little more physical tonight and really take it to Houston. I'm excited. I think it should be a fun game. It was a really fun game last week, even though the Grizzlies came out on the losing end. Well, before we get to a break, let me remind you of our 5 o'clock sponsor. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. They've been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984, and their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com, or go out and test drive those beautiful new vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove right there off of Quince for Jaguar Bluff City. Let's get to another break, and when we return, it will be time to preview the final wild card matchup during our Monday Night Football pick and preview. We'll break down Vikings and Rams. We'll also get to our Big Four all-time for the Vikings and the Rams. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from the Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at our Rendezvous. They're online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
What a great time of year. Football, basketball, baseball, golf, and home sales. Home sales? This is Sheldon Rosengarten of Lost Ben Snow Realtors. Why did I throw in home sales at this time of year? Because I have sold homes on the day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day. Whether it's someone transferring in through a relocation network or someone just starting their home search, homes sell all year long, just like my golf game being banned all year long. I may be called Mr. Three-Putt, but at least I'm consistent. If you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure and talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Find out how my highly successful strategic marketing program can get the winning score you need. Call me and find out why people often say when you want the job done, call Shell Done. 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Go for that goal and call me. Shell Dunn at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Whitman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Online radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Moore covering SEC sports talk, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff to first throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yellow Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Sports 56
Good afternoon. We still have heavy traffic out here on 240 trying to get on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. We had some police activity out here a little bit earlier. Again, it was just adding insult to injury there as you come off 240 on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway, where it's already heavy that side of town this time of the afternoon. It's picked up with more volume as we stare at it live on 40 eastbound from Sycamore View Road all the way out to Germantown Parkway. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. You can check out the animals right now that are up for adoption. Log on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football is back after we didn't have any Monday night game last week. One game tonight to finish off Wild Card Weekend. Vikings and Rams, supposed to be, I guess, is a home game for the Rams, but we know because of everything going on in Los Angeles with the wildfires, that game has been moved tonight to Arizona. So a neutral site game, but Brett, we talked about it earlier, both the Rams and the NFL trying to do everything they can to make this feel like a home game for the Rams.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, the league always used Phoenix to get everything right. The Eagles once used Phoenix of we'll move there if you don't do thus and so, and people always did. Intriguing matchup tonight. 10-7 Rams hosting the 14-3 Vikings. The Vikings won more games than any wild card playoff team in NFL history. These teams met in Week 8 of the regular season, and the Rams became one of just two teams to beat the Vikings all season, doing it in a short week, 30-20. One of the Rams' best performances of the year. But tonight, it really matters. In the last NFL Monday night game of the year, a week from tonight, we will have the College Football Playoff National Championship game. And in the impossible Big Four next week, the four biggest wins in Notre Dame history and the four biggest wins in Ohio State history.
Yeah, Landon, I hope you've already gotten started on what you're picking for that top or that Big Four.
I've been doing my homework. I've been getting ahead on
that is a tough one.
I started to go moments, but I thought it would get too far from the field. A truly historic American moment was Newt Rockney's plane crash. I mean, it killed the king of college football. I mean, it would have been like, if something that happened to Bear Bryant or Nick Saban, before, they got to the end of those dynastic runs, the Four Horsemen for, Grantland Rice dubbing that. You get so far from the field. So we'll go the four biggest wins for Notre Dame. Was last Thursday one of them. Save your answer.
Certainly could be.
Was last Thursday one of them. We'll do four biggest wins Notre Dame, four biggest wins Ohio State. But tonight, how much do you trust Sam Darnold?
Well, that's the question, because well, I mean, I hate to say let's wait and see, but, it's just he's been so good this year, but everyone, for good reason, remembers what happened his last game out in a big game against the Detroit Lions, and he goes out there and does not play well at all. And so, what kind of Sam Darnold do you get? Look, big opportunity tonight for him to bounce back and say, hey, no, last week or last game was, that was an anomaly. I am a way better quarterback, and I can play better, and I'll show you tonight with a big performance. Or he could do the same, and we'll all be saying, well, yeah, that was fun. The Sam Darnold story was fun this season, but when the big moments arise, he can't show up for them. And so this is a massive game for Sam Darnold.
The Vikings defense caught the Rams at the worst time in that regular season matchup. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both returned from injuries and combined for 12 catches for 157 yards that night. We can trust them and trust Matt Stafford.
Yeah, no, I mean they've been so good, and you look at those two wide receiver, one a veteran that I think you can always trust, Cooper Kupp, and then the other in Puka Nacua, who has really become a hot name in terms of young wide receivers after what he did as a rookie last year, and then what he has done since returning from injury this year has been pretty good. But this was a team that really needed those guys to come back, and you saw what they did since then. Only lost 3 games since both those guys returned. They beat the Vikings. They won on the road against the Seahawks. The only 3 losses they've had have been against the Eagles, against the Dolphins, and against the Seahawks. So they've definitely been playing better because it was really a rough start to the season. I mean, they started the year 1-3, and we were saying, this Rams team, what's happening to them? The injuries are piling up. Not a good year for them, but they've been able to play really well late in the season and now find themselves in the playoffs.
This move to Phoenix can't hurt the Vikings. Does it help?
No. I mean, I don't think it really helps or hurts. It's certainly not the Vikings. I think you can make the argument it hurts the Rams not being at home, but other people will argue, well, they don't really have a home field advantage when they are playing in LA. So, no, I don't think it really hurts or helps Minnesota, though.
Minnesota, 2.5-point favorite on ABC. That starts at 7 o'clock. We'll have all the action. Connor, he takes the Rams plus the 2.5. Connor with 0-5 like I did. Off my 0-5, I'm going to go opposite Connor. I mean, I'm going to let him go 0-6, and I go 1-5. I'm going to take Minnesota. Darian 2-3 like Hugh Bryant over the weekend in the NFL games. He takes the Vikings, but it's not with a lot of trust of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's got to do it a little bit in the postseason, and then he's got to back it up next year too before we really go back to that kind of Broadway Sam trust we had coming out of the draft.
Yeah, and it will be the question, I guess, if they do lose tonight will be, what is his future? Where is his future? And because he'll need a new deal.
The winner goes to Philly.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be a really tough matchup for either of these teams. I mean, I said it earlier when we were talking about what we saw yesterday. I mean, I would not want to be a team that has to play Philadelphia. I mean, they feel like they're really hitting on all cylinders right now.
I heard Teddy Bruschi say this, so I want to give credit. Not original thought, but it was a good point made. When you watch that defense for Philadelphia yesterday, it was never just a solo tackle out in space. It was 4 or 5 guys always around the ball.
Yeah, and they've been playing well. A lot of those guys from Georgia, and so they have.
And Nakobe Dean from the area, but injured, terrible, ugly injury.
Oh man, yeah. But it's going to be tough for whichever one of these teams that win and get to play the Eagles. It's not going to be fun. I love though that you and Connor have picked different sides because one of y'all will go 0-6. The other will get a win, but the other one will go 0-6. I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Throw darts and do as well as that.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I'm going to go with
silver dollars.
Well, yeah.
Flip a penny. Flip anything. Flip a chainsaw.
It was a bad weekend, Brad. It was a bad weekend. But I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I'm going to side with you and Darian. I just think, look, Vikings have been, I think, the better team all year, and so I will back them. I will back that Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than what he showed against Detroit. I also think Detroit is a very solid team, even with all the injuries on defense. Still think they have some good players over there. So I'll back Minnesota minus that 2.5 and see what they can do.
That building in Phoenix, in Glendale, it's hosted wild Super Bowls. I was at the Super Bowl where Seattle gave away the chance to go back to back, and the Malcolm Butler interception on the goal line. It was also the scene of Eli Manning's first Super Bowl win.
Oh, wow.
Super Bowl 42 in the helmet catch. And the Cardinals have had some big playoff wins there. Big Larry Fitzgerald catch and run that he made. So that gets us to our big four. Not Larry Fitzgerald, because he's not going to own either the Rams or the Vikings, but he would be in the middle. All day today, I've kind of gotten the Cardinals confused in there with Minnesota and the Rams in some of these notes and compiling lists.
Yeah.
But they're not playing. They're just letting their stadium be used tonight. Big four all time, from start to finish for Vikings and Rams, incorporating everywhere the Rams been, including Cleveland. You got any Cleveland Rams?
No, Brad, I do not have any Cleveland
Any
Rams.
St. Louis Rams?
I do have a couple of St. Louis Rams.
All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I will start with my Rams list, and I will start at number 4 with Kurt Warner. What a story, what a player. Kurt Warner is number 4 for me for
What a story.
the Rams. I mean, it really is. It's fantastic.
I saw him in arena football
That's great. That's a great story.
on a
Brad.
Friday night in Des Moines.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Was he good? Did he have a good game?
No, he got pulled for Jake Kelchner.
Wow, no way.
Promise
you
you.
saw an arena football
Saw him
game
pulled.
where Kurt Warner was
Yeah,
pulled.
ineffective.
Wow, I thought it was going to be, oh, no, he's fantastic. He's throwing
No.
the ball all over the place. Wow.
In fact, got there, I went, no ways the Penn State running back is it. No, different spelling, different guy. No.
Oh, that's great. So I have Kurt Warner, number 4. Number 3, Marshall Faulk, another just great Ram. Had to put him at number 3. Number 2, Aaron Donald. I have him at number 2. What a great player on the defensive side of the ball. And then number 1, Eric Dickerson, number 1 for me with the Rams. You want me to keep going with my Vikings? Throw it all
No,
out there?
because the University of Memphis just called and you've been kicked out of the Alumni
I
Association.
saw that coming. OLI for Isaac Bruce. I mean, shame on me.
OLI, are you kidding me?
Shame on
All-time
me.
leading receiver
Well,
in team history.
You're right. That is on me. That's my fault.
Brian,
I'll wear that
I
one.
can't believe
I'll wear
it.
that one. That's on me. That's on
Your
me.
parents. Oh.
Yeah, no. My dad's not going to be happy with me.
He-
I'll wear
he
that
shouldn't
one.
be.
He's not. I'll wear that one. That's on me.
Okay. Minnesota.
All right, Minnesota. Here we go. Number 4, Chris Carter. I love me some
That's
Chris
where I have
Carter.
him. I have him 4 and love
I've
him.
got him number 4. Number 3, Fran Tarkenton.
Exactly, Sir Francis at 3.
I got him at number 3. Adrian Peterson, number 2 on my list. Love Adrian Peterson. And then number 1 of my favorite receivers of all time, Randy Moss.
No kidding. I mean, I really struggled 1, 2. I had 3, 4 just like you. Fran Tarkin out of Georgia, a great player, and Chris Carter 4. I really struggle with AP or Randy Moss.
Yeah.
I have Adrian Peterson 1, but Moss is maybe the most exciting player in the history of the league.
Oh, man. He's incredible. And, yeah, I mean, I already knew. Vikings, yeah, I know what 1-2 is. And Chris Carter and Fran Tarkenton are going to be in there somewhere.
All right, since I gave away my Vikings, I'll do Rams and then Landon, you take over. 1 for me, Marshall Faulk, and a lot of greatest show on turf influence for me. 2, Isaac Bruce. 3, Eric Dickerson. And number 4, Aaron Donald.
Yeah, it's a good list. I think anybody you can put. We could have done a top 10 for the Rams and had some
Torrey
really good
Holt.
names on there. Yeah, I mean some really, really good names in there. Shame on me for no.
Orlando Pace.
Orlando Pace, a really good one. All right, Landon, let's hear it.
All right, here I go. Unlike old Brian over here,
me.
my number 4 is going to be Isaac Bruce.
Smart man.
My number 3, Marshall Faulk. 2, Aaron Donald, and number 1, Eric Dickerson. And for my Vikings top 4, at number 4 I put Alan Page. Number 3 I have Fran Tarkenton. Number 2, gotta have me some Adrian Peterson. And number 1, Randy Moss.
Wow.
Great list. Can't argue really with everybody we mentioned either in or going to the Hall of Fame.
No, yeah. No, this was a good list because you're right. It is superstar power all over the place, and I think could have gone a little bit further and still had Hall of Famers on this.
Who are y'all for tonight? Any big preference? Any big?
No, I don't think any big
Pulling
preference.
far?
I think if I had to lean one way, it'd probably be Minnesota. I have no reason why, but
I am because they've never won one.
Yeah,
that would be
Heartbreak
my
a lot of
reason,
times
too.
in a lot of Super Bowls. Fran Tarkenton 0-3 in Super Bowls. Joe Kapp, loser at quarterback in their first Super Bowl appearance.
yeah, no. So yeah, I think I'm rooting for the Vikings tonight. But hopefully it's a good game, and at least the Vegas line will tell you that at least they think it's going to be a fun game with that line coming in under a field goal. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show and wrap up this segment. When we come back, we will wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings. owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beer seating? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it and get on the installation schedule and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model show now through the end of January. Family Leisure, we ordered I-40. Family and fun come together.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I pluck mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live.
In your life have you seen anything like that?
Goodbye. Hello, high school.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, some baseball news out there. Jeff Passan reported about an hour ago that Japanese star right-handed pitcher Roki Sasaki has limited down his finalists for the team he will play for next year. It's been kind of throughout the afternoon, people reporting that this team is out, and so now the finalists have been set. The LA Dodgers, the San Diego Padres, and the Toronto Blue Jays are the 3 finalists. Sources tell ESPN Sasaki will decide on his team by the closing of his posting window, which is January 23rd. We know Yu Darvish with the San Diego Padres, he has a really good relationship with him. We know him and Shohei Ohtani have a really good relationship. So obviously those two make a lot of sense. And then Toronto, a lot of people have pegged him that maybe he could look at Toronto being an option. So it will be interesting because this was one of the weird ones because of his age and how he was coming in. Every team had an opportunity because of what that price tag was going to be to go out and sign him. And earlier today, he made it very clear that neither of the New York teams were in the running, but it feels like he's going to be a player that we'll talk about a lot next baseball season.
Bryant will remember when many thought Shohei Ohtani was going to sign with the Blue Jays.
Yes, yeah, and that was the thing. There was reporting that he was flying there. He was mid-air to go and sign the contract there, and that was never the case. So, yeah, it's a really good point by you.
What I learned today, the full bloom is coming off the John Calipari flower at Arkansas. He's getting close. I mean really close to blasting his own fans. He can't help himself. You can feel it coming. He's going to tell them how lucky they are to have him. But Arkansas and Johnny Tyson and Hunter Yurachek, they let Chris Beard tell them no. How did they let that happen? And went off with the confidence man himself that needed an escape hatch out of Kentucky.
Yeah, no, it was 0-3 start. We knew it was going to be a tough SEC stretch for anybody, but you look at those 3 games, very tough, and 0-3 is not going to have fans happy. What I could have done without Brett, it's got to be the Cowboys and this Mike McCarthy situation. You know, I'm to the point where I'm not going to blame players
anymore.
Keep
the parade route ready, though.
Well,
keep it ready, Brian.
I don't know. I'm going and borrowing a lighter, and it's getting close to paper and lighter. I don't know. But, I'm done blaming the players. I'm done blaming the coach. This is on the owner in Jerry Jones. But I did see this earlier. Reporting coming out that Bill Belichick would have been interested in the Cowboys job, and it's believed that Dallas would have been interested in him had he known the position would become available. Belichick in his camp, no, it would have never worked. Belichick in his camp never received any indication during back-channel conversations that the job would open up, which is partly why he ended up at UNC. I don't know where the Cowboys are going to go from here in terms of a new head coach.
What about Coach Prime?
I don't want that to happen. I'll be honest.
Lincoln Riley.
I don't want that to happen either.
Lane Kiffin.
I don't want that to happen either. I'd like one of these coordinators, but they're starting in the back of the line. They have to move fast. We'll see what happens, but I'm not excited about any of the options out there, I don't think.
I could have done without. Who really believed Mike McCarthy was going to make it to the end of this year?
Thank you.
Nobody knew he was going to. Everybody knew he wasn't going to make it, especially after Dak went down. Mac was done. 49-35 as Cowboys head coach with really no significant wins. Pieced together some good seasons, but never thought it was a go for it year. 1-3 in the playoffs. That doomed him. He will coach somewhere next year. The Bears and the Saints. They both have had a lot of coaches a lot worse than Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I saw someone posted odds for the Bears' next head coach, and Mike McCarthy shot all the way up to number 2 behind Ben Johnson. So
Pete Carroll for the Cowboys.
Oh, I'd love it. Sign me up yesterday. I would love Pete Carroll.
I would sign it. In a long relationship with Jerry Jones back to Pete Carroll's GA days at Arkansas and Lou Holtz's staff.
Oh, I would love that. That would be probably the best option, I think, out there, unless you can go get someone like Ben Johnson, one of these big-time coordinators. But it's gonna be interesting. Where are you beaming tonight?
You could beam me to Scottsdale, Phoenix, Glendale now till about May 1st, and I'd be fine with it. But tonight, Minnesota against the Rams in the Cardinal Stadium. I hope somebody out there had that futures bet of a playoff game being hosted at State Farm Stadium.
That would be put that in some betting, gambling Hall of Fame somewhere if that is a bet out there that somebody has. Beam me tonight. Let's go down to Houston and watch the Grizzlies and the Houston Rockets out there. We just saw this matchup last week on Thursday here in Memphis where Houston won it in the final couple of minutes, able to get that 3-point win on Thursday. We'll see it again again tonight, and maybe the Grizzlies can come out on the winning side. I know we talked to DeMichael earlier about Ja Morant. He's been listed as questionable tonight with illness. DeMichael Cole did tweet out about 10-15 minutes ago, meeting with Coach Jenkins, that Ja Morant is in the arena. He will go through pregame warm-ups to determine if he'll be able to play. So it sounds like working to maybe playing tonight, and certainly if he goes, he will be a big addition to that roster tonight.
Minnesota 21-31 all-time in postseason. The Rams 26-28 all-time in playoffs. Minnesota leads 5-2 in playoff matchups against the Rams. The last one in 2000, that was greatest show on turf, 49-37. First playoff matchup, December of 1969. Minnesota on their way to Super Bowl IV with Joe Kapp at quarterback. 11 degrees at the Met that day in Bloomington.
Wow. Yeah, not going to be 11 degrees tonight in the Dome in Arizona, but it should be fun. Wrap up the wild card weekend. Should be a fun game. Grizzlies as well will be a lot of fun. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.